There are certain things
that's how they eat after midnight. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Anyway,
even
we're
killed
live.
Mother. Took her head off.
Yeah, they roll her head down the stairs. Yeah. The best part of the script is where you have like the newscaster going, they went into McDonald's and they didn't touch the hamburgers, but they ate the people.
Yeah, they left all the food, just ate the people.
I mean, it's McDonald's. It's probably clever to eat the people.
I think that was the joke.
Food.
Yeah, it was that the food was unedible, but yeah. So bad even Gremlins wouldn't eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the fun is. This is where you need to go. Where we talk about films and help you get to know. So stick around for Tom and Gary here on Pop Culture Minefield.
It'll blow your mind.
And help you get to know, so stick around for Tom and Gary here on Pop Culture Minefield. So stick around for Tom and Gary here on Pop Culture Minefield.
Here, Will. Put on your coat. Will Danaher, they're coming to the front door.
Well, since when has the back door been not good enough?
Oh, thanks, Martin.
He did that.
Everybody forgive Martin. He's sick
Not
today.
Martin.
Anima and Martin
I
are
won't.
both nauseatingly sick. Tom made it. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to make it because he had a Christmas thing to do with the family, but he showed up, and we deeply appreciate it. Thanks for being here, Tom. I mean, the show is like yours and my show.
You're muted, Tom. Okay, there you go.
What the fuck was that? Suddenly
Let
you
me
went in
introduce
God
myself.
mode.
My name is
Oh,
Tom,
yeah.
Tom Connors, and you're on Pop Culture Minefield, and I have a story to tell. Yeah, I know, who hasn't got a story? Well, nobody's got a story like this one. Nobody. It all started here on Geary's channel. We were talking about some movies, and all of a sudden Gremlins popped up on the screen, and all hell broke loose. Because sometimes you never can tell. You just might be a Three Dog Night member.
Well, all I got to say to this is Father Gerald
Joy
Green
to the world.
approves that voice. So that is, of course, his impression of Hoyt Axton, who is a great country singer.
He wrote many of Three Dog Night songs, including Joy to the World.
Jailhouse Rock was written by his mother.
It was, yes. And I believe he also I believe he also wrote
He ate a lot. He was a
Mama
big
Told Me
dude.
Not to Come, speaking of his mama.
Oh, that
And,
was his?
I think so, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he did the Spanish song, and I know he did Joy to the World. He did most of their music. That's the thing. He was like their key songwriter for many years, yeah.
Well, he was really good. And I got to tell you, it was really kind of awesome that he ended up stumbling into acting. See, the reason why is because he was on Hee Haw.
Great voice, yeah.
And he just had natural comic timing. And so
he has that down home kind of southern,
down home, really deep voice, talking to you, very simple. That's why he's the narrator of the film. And I think the sequel missed him. I think it's one part that I missed.
Yeah, they had a cameo they were supposed to be in. It just never happened, I guess. But yeah. Joe Dante regretted it, of course, but
oh yeah, I bet. Space Fwaggle is here. Cappuccino Calvermanchet is here. I saw Penny is here. And that's it so far in the chat. Hope you guys like this movie. It is a Christmas film. I mean, it absolutely.
Oh, we're gonna start that fight already? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you and I talked about this before. That
Nah,
if
it's a
you
Christmas
take
movie.
Christmas out of the movie and it still works, it's not a Christmas film.
This is one that I like. I can get into the Die Hard debate all day, but this is one where I really kind of firmly put my foot down because it's like, yeah, you're right. You take Christmas out of the equation, it doesn't work. The movie is kind of in its own way commenting on Christmas in the 80s because you got to remember this is right around the same time as the Cabbage Patch craze. The original Mogwai in the script was actually manufactured by the Chinese, right? Like it was not even a real creature. It was like a like a hybrid of a manufactured thing and a living thing, right? So that's why it was fucked up and it didn't work right. Kind of ish, but like more so it was like, how it was kind of that whole idea of like the Chinese are going to get us with, something. And that's kind of what, but also if you look at the movie as a whole and you kind of step back, it is really about how consumerism was literally consuming people in the 80s as far as Christmas goes. And you have this, ideal backdrop of, this Frank Capra Christmas town. Like it's literally ripped right out of It's a Wonderful Life, right? Like this movie makes a ton
Even
of
the name of the
references
town is inspired by
exactly. Like yes, it's. I mean, yeah, the whole movie is like it could be it's basically a Frank Capra movie gone wrong. Yeah. Is like what Joe Dante said. And the original script was far from what we got, but we'll get into that as we get along here. But yeah, I mean, just in general, I think this movie has a lot to say about Christmas in general. Like the whole idea, the Mogwai is a gift, right? And that gift literally consumes an entire town. So like, there's a lot to get into with that. Like you could dig into it for a while and into the whole, just the whole concept of it by the time it gets to its final form. But like it just started as a typical scary monster movie, basically.
I kind of take the film as that basically despite everything that suburbia does and all of our inventions done, there's an inherent chaos in the world, and trying to control it invariably with all our tech gadgets, everything else is just invariably going to lead to disaster.
Partially, yeah. Like there's a whole like idea of that in the whole like underlying, especially in the second film, right? Where you got the smart building that doesn't work.
Right.
And I mean, that's kind of the whole, like, they really got clever with the idea that, look, gremlins, what is a gremlin? Like, I'm sure somebody sat down and said, well, what is a gremlin? Well, gremlins come from, World War II. It was the idea of something went wrong that they couldn't explain. Gremlins got in the machinery. And of course, they took that and ran with it. So Gizmo, on the other hand, who wasn't even originally Gizmo in the original script, is more inspired if you think about it that way, because a Mogwai, and this sucks that it's not really in the movie much, but the Mogwai actually fixed things. And that's how he gets his name. In a scene that's deleted, that's in the novels, on their way home, Rand's sitting there and he's got all of his gadgets in his bag, and Gizmo's digging around in his bag, and he finds the bathroom buddy or something like that, and he starts to tinker around with it, and he fixes it. And Rand goes, oh, you're pretty good with those little gizmos. He goes, well, that's a good name for you. We'll call you Gizmo. And that's where he got his name. And that's kind of the whole idea is, okay, Mogwais can come in and they can fix things, right? But gremlins come in, they just fucking destroy everything. And they're really good at getting into mechanics. And, yeah, so like there's this whole thing in there that's kind of lost in the mix. But like if you really get into the lore of it all, it's there. It's in there still, but it's not quite as there as much as it is in the original script. But like I said, when you go back to the initial idea of this, Chris Columbus, who wrote, Goonies and directed Harry Potter and worked on, I think he also directed Home Alone or co-wrote Home Alone, one of the two.
Chris Columbus, yeah.
Yeah. Did he direct Home Alone or did John Hughes direct it?
John Hughes directed, he wrote it. Chris
Columbus, I was going to say, yeah.
Because Spielberg got the script and he thought it was like a nom de plume. He couldn't believe somebody's name was actually Chris Columbus.
Yeah. Well, and he wrote it as just kind of an off, like, I think it was more of just
it was a straight R-rated horror film.
Yeah, it was. Because like the beginning of the film, they get the creature just like they do, but Gizmo's not Gizmo.
He's not a good guy.
Stripe.
He ends up he becomes Stripe, the bad guy.
Because Billy, who's much younger in the original script, closer to like Corey Feldman's age, which makes me almost wonder, because like Corey Feldman's character does not exist in the original script. So I think at one point they really shifted gears when they got Phoebe Cates in the mix, because I
Right.
think Corey Feldman was probably initially gonna. This is just my hunch. I think they were looking at Corey Feldman to play Billy, and as soon as they're like, I can get Phoebe Cates to play the female lead, they're like, okay, we've got to get an older guy. And they changed a lot of shit, because in the original script, Billy's like 13, 14, 15 years old. He doesn't have a job. He's not like, like, he's just a kid who draws comics. And there's this really like parallel thing in the it's still in the movie, but it's really kind of lost that Conan character he keeps drawing in the movie. That's called the Troll Hunter. And in the comics, he slowly ends up becoming this Troll Hunter character throughout. That's why he grabs the sword. So by the end of the film, in his tattered clothes, he's supposed to look like this Conan kind of like character going around with his sword, killing all these gremlins like the Troll Hunter in his books. So that all got lost and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. Like the original Gremlins were like straight up vicious. Like they kill his mother. they roll her head down the stairs when he gets home. They eat the dog. That's how they turn into gremlins after midnight. And there is no Gizmo after that point. Stripe is Gizmo in the original script.
Yeah,
like
there's only one Mogwai become gremlins.
And Billy hates him from the start. Like he's a little bastard. Like, and he can't stand him because he's a little jerk. So like he kind of just ignores him until all of a sudden this hell starts breaking loose on him. And they take out the fucking airport. They take out the entire town, and they literally kill people like left and right. Like,
yeah,
we're
death
saying
toll
in the
for
intro
film really isn't that high. But the original there was a lot more carnage.
In fact, the funny thing is, if you've ever seen Critters 2, the script for Gremlins, actually, there's a lot of parallels between Critters 2 and Gremlins. Especially like at the end, because there's this whole thing where the Gremlins in the original script, they don't like to be separated. So
what was that other one that was ripped off of Gremlins? It was Critters, and then there was
Ghoulies,
the other one.
There was other ones. Ghoulies wasn't really a rip-off. It was kind of just its own thing. But no, in Critters 2, though, they have the thing where they blow them up in the burger plant at the end, and then they come out in the big ball. Well, in the original Gremlins script, they figure out if they separate them, they all come to try and rescue the one that's in trouble. So they end up kidnapping one, and they make them all chase them to this warehouse that's outside of town, and they blow them up. And that's the end. And then they forget about the one that's in their car in the trunk. And then you hear a little cackle, and that's, setting up that there's still one left. But it's just kind of funny because that's how the way the script rolls, it kind of rolls the same way in that movie because it's more of a horror film. But I think it was just happenstance that they had some similarities to them. But yeah, the original film is just your basic, straightforward monster movie. Monsters come into town, destroy the town. The kid prevails at the end. And I don't even remember if Kate's even that big of a deal in the story. Like all of the stuff that was brought in with like to make it, because the thing is, you sit back and you look at the whole movie, it's kind of a big joke, right? It's kind of a big joke on a Frank Capra movie, like we were talking before. And that scene where Kate tells the story about her dad, like none of that shit's in the original script. It was so
over the fucking top written that way.
None of that is like all of that. And to me, that scene in and of itself kind of encapsulates what this whole movie is about. It's kind of like one twisted, sick joke. And because most people don't realize that when she's telling that story, that's what it is. It's a joke. Because that's how I found out there's no Santa Claus.
Removed.
Yeah,
right?
They did. And Joe fought for it tooth and nail because that's what he said. This is the movie. And he's right. Because that thing that she says at the end, and that's how I found out there's no Santa Claus. That's a punchline.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's a setup for a really sick and twisted joke. And it's kind of what the movie is just one big setup for a sick and twisted joke at the end of the day. Right? Absolutely. Like this cute and cuddly thing is going to kill you.
In one of the videos that we watched,
Emmanuel is here. Slasher Fred is here. Tom Baker. And we got some comments that I want to bring up here. We got... what?
In one of the videos that we watched, the dude mentioned that the Mogwai were planted by aliens on different planets to teach the people peace.
Well,
but then just by eating after midnight, they turned into fucking monsters.
They fucked it up.
Spielberg
here. Yes,
was wanting to do
novels.
A sequel. Well, he was wanting to do a sequel to E.T. And this kind of came from the wellspring of that.
Well, they kind of treated this, and that's where the controversy of this film comes in. It's funny
because in the novelization, it says they were aliens.
Yeah. And then when they came to Earth, this is what happened. This is the only planet that it happened.
Yeah, for some reason. Slasher Fred says the movie has a cameo by actor Kenneth Tobey, of course. Those of you who know the original Thing from Another World, and he's been in
Joe
a lot
Dante
of
is a big, huge classic movie monster.
Joe
fan,
Dante.
yeah.
If not for Joe Dante, I mean, animatronics became what they are in film because of his movies.
Well,
and
what this
is
he's paying homage to the monster and pod people movies of the 50s and 60s and mixing it with Frank Capra is what he's doing. And he even flat out said that. He goes, there's a few different kind of monster movies or horror movies. There's monster movies, there's slasher movies, there's pod people movies. This is both a pod people and a monster movie mashed together.
Absolutely. And
that's why he was able to work in McCarthy into the movie, because that was one thing that he didn't get into the movie is a Joe Dante McCarthy, at least cameo. But he worked it in through the Invasion of the Body Snatchers clip.
Bring him up because he does show up in Joe's film later, actually in the film Inner Space, which is really good.
He's in almost all of his films. Him and Dick Miller are
all
his
of them. Dick Miller.
Yeah.
He loved working with those classic 50s movies. But CZ's World is one we were criticizing earlier because he gets so much of his information wrong because he starts going off on this tangent of why this movie had so much 50 stuff in it, and he was completely wrong. It's like, no, it's in there because Joe Dante was a big fan of sci-fi horror films of the 50s.
Yeah, he somehow manufactured a connection to the A-bombs and shit.
Yeah, it's just that's his world.
I
think he just
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, basically.
Yeah.
There's only one thing missing from the Gremlins series: a William Shatner cameo with him flying on a plane. And there's just a gremlin on the wing.
You know, that would have been hilarious had they made him found a way to work him into the sequel, because the sequel
that really would have been good.
Right? Like,
have him play the mayor of the town.
And I'm so glad that Joe finally said this, because I've been saying this for years, but Joe finally said it himself. I said that Gremlins 2 is the most Joe Dante movie you will ever watch.
Absolutely.
And he said this earlier this year. He goes, that's the movie I made that's the most me. Right? Because Warner Brothers was so desperate to get a Gremlins 2 off the ground. They had tried with different people when Joe was like, I'm not interested. So they came knocking at Joe's door. They're like, we'll give you carte blanche, all the money you want, whatever you it's yours. We just want a Gremlins fucking 2 for summer of 1991.
And what did he do? He made a parody of his own film.
Exactly. He's like, all right. He basically made it into a Looney Tunes cartoon is what he did.
Yes.
It's awesome, man.
It's in there. So I want to go through the cast really quick because we got this kid that came out of nowhere, Zach Galligan, and
lucky motherfucker got to make out with Phoebe Cates.
Goddamn, dude, really. And of course, Phoebe Cates, fresh off of Fast Times of Ridgemont High, and I'm going to bring this up because he is in the film. Minor role is Jeff. I mean,
Did
Judge
you really
Reinhold.
just call him Jeff?
Yeah, I know. Judge Reinhold, who God, his face looks crooked. Who I went to high school with. This guy is so awesome. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Well, him and of course.
Do you want me to show the proof,
Phoebe
Gary?
You know.
Fast Times.
Yeah. This is something that's neat because a lot of people don't know this. Share your screen, honey.
Yep, I'm on it.
This is a cool thing because I graduated from James Monroe High School, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and scroll down the page and show the alumni.
There you go.
There they are. I'm right in the middle. Judge Reinhold's right below me. And down at the very bottom
he's below you.
Yeah, I know. Keller Williams is also below me, who's a big artist in the...
so he's a little bit older than you, so he would have already been graduated by the time.
So I actually knew Judge Reinhold, and I'm close friends with Keller Williams, who was his drummer in his band.
Gotcha.
So it's funny. Rest of those guys, I don't really know. I know who they are, but I didn't know them. But there's another guy that went to our high school that I was friends with through his family, and that's W.K. Stratton. You know him as the office clerk from Baba Black Sheep, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy.
Well, it's sad because a third of Judge's performance gets cut out of the movie, but you see it in the TV version.
Yeah, because you hear there's more to what happens to him.
Yeah, the Gremlins attack the fucking bank, and they kill the boss with clocks, which is hilarious.
Yep. So let me go to him real quick.
So the clock came out.
There he is. That is Edwards Andrews. This was the last movie he made, Gremlins. He died within a year of the film being finished.
He gets killed with clocks because he's always so worried about everybody being on time.
Yep.
And then
And you brought up Kenneth Tobey. There's
yeah,
Kenneth
and then
Tobey.
Judge Reinhold locks himself in the vault and refuses to come out.
Yeah, because by the end of the film, you don't know if he survived or not. But yeah, he did.
He did.
And you still want him dead, man.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when he was a kid, I enjoyed this young man. That's Corey Feldman.
Then he went
It wasn't
crazy.
until he hit his teens he got annoying. This is Dick Miller.
Miller,
one of
the
my
Dick
favorite
Miller.
B-movie actors ever.
Best name
He's got
too.
a documentary out right now. I want to see that. I don't know
Oh,
if you
it's
saw
on
that.
Amazon, dude. I've seen
Is
it.
it?
It's
Okay,
really
cool.
good. Really good film. Now, this is Frances Lee McCain. She played the mom.
Yes.
Really, the
She
only
was the
thing I
mom in a
remember
lot
of
of
her.
80 films, actually.
I don't remember any of them, though. I can't remember a single role she ever played.
Footloose.
Boyd Axton, we talked about. Wait, she was in Footloose?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the second most famous mom in the 80s behind Dee Wallace Stone, right? Like,
God damn,
she was in
man.
Gremlins,
Yeah, Dee
she was in
Wallace.
Footloose.
Dee Wallace was the mom we all wanted to bang.
Well, she was E.T.'s mom and Howling and all that shit. Yeah, and Cujo, but yeah.
This is Harry Carey Jr. and his dad. Of
She's
course,
also
was
in
great.
Back to the Future. You forgot about that too.
What is she in that?
She's Marty's grandmother.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, because I noticed that there's another girl in the.
She even
film,
made a
too,
cameo in part 3.
The
I guess,
poor
too.
lady with the 2 kids is from. Was it Back to the Future?
Might be. I don't know.
She's one of them. Anyway, this gentleman is Glenn Turman. A lot of movies. In fact, what was he in that was big other than this one? He was in a lot of shit in the 80s. Luke was one of the biggest stars in the film as far as I go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Phoebe got first billing, if I'm not mistaken, but like her Hoyt did, one of the two.
Let
Zach
me tell you who
didn't.
Luke was. He was the first Kato for the Green Hornet. He was a number 2 son to Charlie Chan in all the Charlie Chan movies.
With Mogwai comes much responsibility.
That's right. And he was the blind
any price.
teacher in Kung Fu, the TV series. Luke was huge. This is another guy who just has a small part in the film. That's Jonathan Banks.
Yeah, he's
And-
great as the cop. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Why do you always drive? Why do I get to drive? Because you're a drunk.
This guy is in the film by voice. You know who
Yeah,
that is.
him and oh god, if you want to get into the voices, you got Frank Welker,
Howie Mandel,
him,
and
Howie,
Frank
Michael
Welker.
Winslow, and Peter,
Winslow. That's right. He was in this.
and I believe even Peter Cullen did some other effects as well. Now, there's always a big debate on who did Stripe's voice between both.
I thought that was Frank Welker.
Frank Welker and Michael Winslow both claim they do it.
Oh,
I think Michael Winslow did it. I've
I'm
heard
gonna go
both of
back
them
and
do it.
listen,
I've
'cause I
heard
know
both
his
of them
voice.
do it separately. And I'm almost 100% positive that Michael Winslow is the voice they use. They probably all did one, but if you can listen in the movie itself, because he's a little bit, it's like they did it on purpose so that Stripe was just slightly different than the rest of them, and Frank does the rest of them, I think, because he's the standard laugh guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
like he does all those. But like,
Now, do
when
you
listen
remember
to
this
Stripe,
guy?
Stripe's a bit more different, and when I've heard, when you hear Michael still do it to this day, like Michael sounds like Stripe compared to when Frank, because Frank did it for the video game, and I'm like, that don't sound like Stripe.
So maybe he did some of the other Gremlins for the.
He
movie
did
and
almost
then he
probably
did
all
Stripe
the rest
later.
of the Gremlins along with Peter. But I'm like, there's a video out there on YouTube where Michael's doing a bunch of his voices that he's done in movies, and it's not even from that long ago. And he's like, I was the bad mean one on the Gremlins. And he starts doing the voice, and he's like, and he does it. It's like, oh my God, that's fucking Stripe. Like, you can just tell, right? Like, there's just something about it. So, like, yeah.
Now,
But I
this
guess
is-
I guess Howie was the one who came up with a lot of the words.
well, the noises. There
Well, he
weren't
was
always
like-
words. Yeah, there were.
Yeah, but he would just
just
grab
like
random
noises.
words. He's like, I had to fill in spots, and I didn't. He's like, I did all the cooing and gawing I could do. And he's like, so
And
after a
his
while,
mugwai cussing is really hilarious.
yeah, he would
when
just
he
come up
falls
with
into
words
trash
like
cans.
gizmo caca, like, or caca magwai he came up with, and woof woof was for puppy, for the dog. He'd come up with different little names for things he said. So like, if you listen to, especially like at the end Like when he's walking out and he's talking to the old man, he's literally like retelling the whole story through his little.
Kind of like the way
code,
3PO does in
exactly
Return
like
of the
that.
Jedi.
Yeah, because he's like, if you listen to him, he's like. And he's like, woof, woof. It's like he's just going through the whole fucking thing. It's like telling the whole story.
How did we get here? Well, let me tell you. Now I want to bring this guy up because this is someone that you should know too. This is another one of the actors that Dante loved using. In fact, he's the doctor in the movie within the movie it's called Mant, but the movie. Oh, I just forgot the name of the Joe Dante film.
Matinee.
Florida.
Matinee.
Fucking love that movie.
Probably his most underrated film. Yeah.
Oh, that's my childhood right there, dude. When I watch that movie, I identify with both the brothers. I love that.
He's because it's an homage to what is it, William Castle or?
William Castle.
Yeah, William Castle, and
whose son would come around and start making some good films on the old logo, Castle Films. And
based on him and somebody else mushed together, and I'm trying to remember. But yeah,
were they the people that found Dark Castle and they did those?
It's a little Roger Corman, and it's because Roger Corman was Dante's boss.
So was Frank Castle, who did he do the Tingler and all that kind of shit?
William Castle, yeah,
or William? Did I say Frank? Jesus Christ,
yeah,
Punisher.
That's okay.
William Castle. I knew what I meant.
I knew what you meant.
Gary was a child back in 1800s.
Gary was a child
in the late 1800s.
Jeebus. Gary turned 7 and then he just grew. He never grew up.
Gary was there during the original Hatfield versus McCoy fight.
I love this kid. If not for the greed of this little kid, this story wouldn't happen. And but I also wonder if Grandpa wasn't fully aware. I got the feeling
that his ass.
He was. How would he know where to find the Mogwai in the end?
Yeah, he beat his ass till he told him.
Yeah, that's what he did. He beat his ass until he told him. Because they do that in China. They beat their asses.
I have Chinese
friends. Go make cell phone.
They make the darkest jokes that the only reason for having kids is having them do the housework, chores and shit.
When you're done with your chores, go make cell phones.
Yeah,
by the way, the best joke in the film that the punchline doesn't happen until the end, and if you're not paying attention, you don't get the punchline, which is the cigarette ashtray,
smokeless ashtray.
That is one of my
Which
favorite.
They actually
payoffs.
Make those.
Yes.
What?
And they don't work.
They don't work.
And
it's so funny because he sells one to Toby, kid of Toby at the gas station. And then he says, "Oh, that is smokeless ashtray," and he gets excited that he knows what it is. He goes, "Yes, garage man tried to sell me his."
Can you go back
Great
to Rock
joke.
and Ricky Rialto there? That's really cool. The parody of the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, the big billboard.
I
Of course,
love
that's the
Rocket. You
same
don't have
square
to,
used
but
in
yeah.
Back to the Future. That would be
It
shot
is.
a year
Yep.
later.
Yeah.
That's the street that would later
Didn't
also
they shoot
be
a
used
lot of
in-
the old Capra films and stuff here
This-
anyway? Isn't that what they did? I can't remember.
I wouldn't be surprised. But that street behind them is the street where the DeLorean.
Because this
has
burnt down
drive.
most of it, didn't it? Because this
What's that?
wasn't it. Didn't a lot of this lot burn down not too long ago?
Some of it did, but they built it back up. And the problem is now the courthouse's facade has changed. But there's a great not a virtual tour, but the guy is one of those guys that likes to go do, what do they call that? Where you travel to go to locations, religious type thing, where pilgrimages. He does video pilgrimages. And he went to the actual town square.
Fucking Kathleen Kennedy.
And he went walking through and he showed where everything was. And he was like inside the courthouse showing where what's what. And this was actually the original facade before the fire. And it's really neat. By the way, they use a mixture of flocking and sand, white sand, and
potatoes.
Ice. No. They use sand, real ice, and flocking. And so what you see on that car
too, but
I don't remember that.
I know they also used corn frosted flakes was another one they like to use because then you get the crunch underneath.
Because crunch, yeah. By the way, this is important right here.
The Boy's Life and Watch the
God
Skies.
damn it.
Yeah. Does anybody know?
So bad, Martin. Can you fix that?
Oh my God, that jumped way back.
Yeah,
So does
my
anybody
hand
know
shakes.
what those were working titles of? That's the
Yeah, I
trivia
do.
question there.
A Boy's
I know
Life
you and I know.
and
Yep,
Watch
E.T.
the
was-
Skies.
Yep, and that's Close Encounters. Yep.
Yeah, it's so fucking cool that you got E.T. and Close Encounters.
What's
homage
funny is
there.
that Joe's got them showing Snow White way out of moratorium.
Right.
And he also
People
points out they
forget
never
Disney did that. Put films
yeah,
in the
and not only
vault.
that, he points out in the commentary, he's like, first of all, that this is way out of moratorium. They wouldn't have showed it yet, or like they're a couple of years off. And then he's like, not only that, we show it in its original aspect ratio, but they'd probably just crop it off nowadays. He's such a fucking nerd. And he's going on about it. He's like, we were so happy. We couldn't believe they let us. He goes, probably because of Steven. Because we couldn't believe they let us use the footage for Snow White.
Well, this is back when films were being made by nerds like you and me. That's what these guys were. And that's why they're so much fun to watch. And also, I want to point out, it's a different movie set, but another movie that has a town very similar to this is in the movie Monster Squad. But they use the Paramount
well, Marty goes right past all this here in Back to the Future. They changed very little of this.
Yeah, this is a bookstore in Back to the Future.
They moved the Burger King. Yeah, they have a Burger King, but it's in a different spot.
Yeah, but it becomes another place in the second film where they have the Blade Runner spinner parked out in front. And I can't remember.
Because I believe they had the Burger King already in the actual footage from when they were filming in California,
right
outside. So then here they just made it up into the other towns they had, and then the theater, of course, is the Triple X Theater.
The Triple X Theater. Also, you'll notice that even though this is supposed to be in the middle of winter, there's no mist coming out of their mouths when they're walking around.
Yeah, they fucked that up.
That's because it was shot in the middle of summer. And I remember Gallagher was talking about how hot it was in that.
Yeah, I feel bad for actors when they
and all that coats and sweaters and shit.
It adds to that classic movie quality. You know what? You know something I've never done, and I wonder what it would be like, is to watch this movie in black and white. Or you know, if anything, it's kind of funny because I think now that I say that, Dante did say something about doing like a Wizard of Oz thing where the first part of the movie would be in black and white till the Gremlins showed up or something like that. But yeah, just to kind of play into the Capra-esque version way of it. Yeah.
I generally get terrified when I see snow in older movies because I know they just use asbestos. I'm like,
they quit doing that in like the late 70s, early 80s.
Thankfully, yeah. But about the mist from breathing out, that's near impossible to do, because I remember an interview with Connor Trenier when they did Enterprise and they did the bottle episode where it's just him and his colleague in the ship, and they were supposed to be freezing. So they had to drink hot tea all the time, and they cooled down the whole set. So the bottle episode ended up being fucking expensive just so their breath would be visible. So
well, it's kind of like The Exorcist.
An insane thing to do. And this movie was made in the 80s. We're talking 2000s here.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of adds to the movie-esque quality to it, but like,
oh yeah,
without you noticing, it's just kind of like one of those subconscious things.
I mean, to make the Gremlins look less unreal, they decided to go full-on movie set and not shoot outdoors, so it would blend better. That's pretty clever.
Well, yeah, because that was the problem back then. Anytime you do anything with the Gremlins, it got expensive real fast.
Well, with Rocky Gizmo, they needed to use blue screen because they just couldn't make it work.
They had so many different ways. They even tried a larger guy in a suit version, and
almost all of the all of the close-ups of Gizmo are basically like I can't remember how much
giant version.
Yeah, but the foot, it was like about 1.5 feet across, about probably half a foot or more taller.
And they had
just
to
basically
make everything around him
head
larger, so it would. blend.
And that's why normally when they do those close-ups, it's like so tight on their faces. Because like you'll see it during when Gizmo's just like really close up on his face, and same
like
thing
when
with
he's making expressions. By the way, a lot of people don't notice that Dick Miller is in this scene.
Well, it's because on the VHS he got cut off.
What?
For years, because it was cropped off.
Yeah, 4:3.
I didn't notice it until I got the widescreen VHS. I was like, holy shit, Dick Miller's there.
But there she is, Tom. That's the actress I'm talking about. I can't remember what movie she's in. She plays the desperate mom with the 2 hungry kids.
Oh, somebody told that in the chat. Let me.
And I'm trying to remember who she is, because she's in something else big.
One of Dante's movies?
It could be.
Oh,
I'm looking to see if I can find her. I'm over on IMDb. Is this her?
the bank and I have the same purpose in life, to make money.
Yes, she's the best
Not
friend that
support a
gets
lot of-
killed in The Howling.
I was gonna say The Howling, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's the reporter that she sends there first, and she's
Well, this
the one
movie has a
killed.
few Howling connections, actually. There's that then, and then there's also the reporter at the end, and
Yeah, the TV reporter. Absolutely, he's the other anchor in
we're
the
getting
movie.
reports of
Howling.
little green men.
There's Harry Carey Jr. I love that guy. What a great
I'll
actor.
put him in
A lot
my
of John
spin
Ford
dryer
movies,
on
man.
high heat. That'd do it all right.
Yeah, that'll do it all right.
I'll do it.
I was not in
So-
the group at
I
the
still
time,
use that one.
Tom, but a lot of guys had big crushes on Phoebe Cates, and she's cute. Don't get
Who
me wrong.
didn't?
I was Ali Sheedy guy. I loved Ali
Yeah,
Sheedy in the
still.
80s.
But
Oh,
poor Polly Holiday,
that's
almost
right.
all of her excess stuff gets cut out of the film. She has a Mr. Potter storyline that's completely cut out of the movie.
Left out. Yep.
So the reason that Hoyt Axton's out working on Christmas Eve, and there's this whole thing about why they have this animosity with each other, she owns like 80% of the town.
Yep.
And there's this whole like deleted side story where she's trying to buy up the whole town and sell it off to like some toxic waste dump company or some
Well, she
nuclear
does
waste
get the
company.
best death, though. Let's be honest.
Yes. But like, so yeah,
That's
so like there's this
awesome.
whole like Potter setup, like, you know, like he sets up Pottersville and all that shit. And they're like, so like she owns so much of the town. Like that's the whole thing, is like Dory's trying to keep up with her and everybody else. Cause like she is such a hard, she's trying to basically shut everybody down so she can sell the land, is what's going on. And her and Billy and Kate figure it out. And there's a whole like subplot that's on the DVD and Blu-ray. Like you can watch the deleted scenes where they go into like the bank's office and they look it all up and they're getting into the paperwork and all that stuff. So it's just excess shit you didn't really need. Like she's mean enough. The fact that she wants to kill the dog is more than enough. Like,
Yeah, I know. It's like she's so evil. She wants to kill the dog.
And kill it
Painfully.
slowly, too. Yeah.
And there's another cameo, oddly, in the film by an actor who's actually not in the movie, but he's in the movie as a photograph.
oh
You know
yeah,
who
her
that is?
husband. Yeah, her husband. I'm trying to remember his
Her
name.
late
but
husband was
Yeah.
a photo.
They actually got permission from the estate and everything for it. Yeah.
Edward Arnold.
Yes, I was gonna say it was
estate.
Edward something. Yeah. And yeah, because he wanted, the whole idea is he wanted like this. So this movie has like its own little cinematic world built into it. Like,
Yes, it does.
It's kind of
And-
cool.
And
Because
Eddie
that's the other
Arnold
thing, is
being
they don't
in it
really say it, but like the reason Billy took the dog to work is because she keeps threatening to kill him and kidnap the fucking
Well, it's in
dog.
Hollywood. I know, and it's so
It's like-
crazy. But what's so wonderful, if you pay attention, there's one photo of him on the stairwell during her death scene where they painted his eyes to look in the direction she flew.
And
like
she
it-
hits the photo. Yeah.
Yeah, she hits the photo and he goes flying out to her death out the window. And his eyes, instead of looking the way they're supposed to be looking, are looking at where she just went. And it's one of the best visual gags in the fucking movie. And
It's something I don't
what it
think
is.
I ever noticed until I saw it on DVD or Blu-ray, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I always
SD
seen her hit the picture, but I never seen the eyes move until, yeah.
Yeah. She owned all the property and wanted to eat the dog. She is definitely Chinese.
Well, she never specified she wanted to eat the dog, but
What is she,
she probably
Melina
would've fed her,
Gates?
fed him to her cats. That's the other thing, is she's a nasty
Yeah.
cat lady.
Hey.
That's fighting words for anima.
So there's the troll. There's the troll hunter guy I was telling you about
Yeah,
right there.
shut
So-
up,
Oh,
Tom.
Wait. There are nice cat ladies and the other kind.
Don't you dare shit on cat ladies just because one is bonkers.
if you got more than 3, then you got a problem, lady.
see how
you
long-
know where I'm about to move, right? To a house with 13
Yeah.
cats.
She'll hunt
2 is
you
fine.
down.
2 is fine.
Look how
3
young
is a
Judge
crowd.
Reinhold looks here.
After that, then you got a problem. You're collecting cats. That's
And there's nothing bad about
Well,
it.
as the owner of 6 of them, I cannot deny. Yeah, it's a problem, but I
they
don't
start
want
to take
solve
over
it.
your house at that point. Like it's like
Yep.
you got
I'm gonna
one, it
point
already
out-
rules your life. So like,
Jeebus, I'm
Judge
down to one
Reinhold-
cat, and she's Rocket Kitty. So
Judge Reinhold looks like he's a kid still in this picture. And this was 6 years after he graduated from James Monroe. But he still looked like a guy.
So you must have been practically in elementary school when he was still in school there, man.
No, in 78, I was a freshman when he graduated.
Because you graduated in 82, and because this is 84
yeah.
already.
Yeah, this is two years after my graduation. I was 20 when this came out. And I'm going to tell you something Anima found that's funny, that I was an avid fucking fan of this film. And I bought all the toys. I bought the tall action figure. I bought that. I got the Gizmo. I got the Gremlin and the Gizmo, just so I could have those on my shelves at the house.
I got a bunch of stuff. I just didn't want to dig it all out.
I bought my kid the lunchbox because he was like a year old. And I'm like, when you get old enough, you'll be able to use this for lunch. He never used it for lunch.
We crossed over and didn't even get to mention the Chuck Jones cameo, by the way.
Oh, well, there's two. Because when they released it on VHS, they changed one of the scenes that takes place in the movie theater. And you get more Bugs Bunny on the original VHS release, which is really weird.
I think you're thinking about part 2, because
Chuck Jones. I thought it was this one. No, you're right. It is part 2.
Because Chuck Jones was at the bar when he was drawing there, and then he went over and started talking to Gerald.
The other cameo that's in this too, I almost forgot about this shit.
Because Chuck Jones actually drew those drawings, by the way.
The composer is in this film.
Spielberg's in this movie too, and so are
with his broken leg.
Dante's,
he's got a cast on his leg. But I forget the composer's name that did the soundtrack to this. Goldsmith, Jerry Goldsmith. He's in the movie.
Same scene. He's in the same scene. Yeah,
he's in the same scene with Spielberg and Robbie the Robot. Who, if you pay attention to his scene when he's in the phone booth,
hardly use it myself, sir. It promotes rust.
That is actually from the movie.
Yeah, and
will 6 gallons be enough?
60 gallons will be enough.
60 gallons be sufficient.
Did you notice that before Robbie and in the background in that convention, do you have the time machine?
Yes.
It disappears. It works.
It's smoking, and everybody's like looking
back
for
and it's
it.
gone. Yeah. Love that shit.
And that is the original time machine, yeah.
Also, I would just like to say very quickly, this Fast Times at Ridgemont High sequel is weird.
It is.
I didn't even know there was one.
Really? Well, it's got Judge Reinhold and Phoebe Cates in it.
Man, things people do for a paycheck.
No, this movie does, you nincompoop.
Oh, shut up, Steven.
Doesn't anybody fucking knock anymore?
Yeah.
I take you too literally, Stephen. I take you way too literally. What does Chase say? The Wicked Witch of the West. Oh, yes. Because I could have sworn. Tell me if it's the Mandela effect or if I'm just misremembering. I thought there was a line saying I'm melting.
No.
No.
She says, I'm going to get you.
I could have sworn Stripe says I'm melting.
That's you being
No, that's in part 2. You're thinking of part 2 again. Because there's literally one dressed like the fucking Wicked Witch going, I'm melting, what a world, what a world, what a world. Yeah, the whole thing, yeah.
And
the
Rick
second
Baker
film fucks with everybody's head, and everybody kind of remembers that shit more so, yeah.
Rick Baker only took that second film because they gave him free reign to create all sorts of new Gremlins.
Well, Chris was gonna do it, but Chris couldn't do it because it was either that or direct a movie, and he chose to direct The Fly 2 instead.
Good choice.
Let's talk about the inventions that his dad makes around the house. They're dangerous. They're gonna hurt people. And there's a lot of foreshadowing too, like the sword.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier. Yeah, and that goes with the whole troll thing that's kind of lost in the mix now, but yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, Stephen,
see, like
came back?
Now with Billy being more of an adult, like it kind of changes the dynamic and it adds more to the whole idea that he's basically supporting his family. Right? Like,
yeah.
You're right, though. He is. Because Dad's not bringing any money in.
No.
No.
Really.
In fact, I kind of think of the dad almost as kind of the real villain of the movie because it's all his fault, and he
And then
leaves.
he leaves.
Yeah.
That's kind of dark, dude.
It always makes me wonder, how did he know all these details to tell us the story? He's not even there most of the time.
Right?
But yeah, we were talking earlier about how like the ET connection. Well, the problem was that's what was really kind of controversial because right here, this kind of stuff is the most you really got to see of the Mogwai or the Gremlins in any sort of advertising until the movie came out. Because they were hiding him like they were ET. And they were hiding the Gremlins completely. So what you had was a bunch of people going to the theater thinking we're going to see an ET kind of movie. And then about 30 minutes into it, it turns into a fucking horror film. So like you had a lot of parents who were pissed the fuck off. And this movie is one of the reasons we have a PG-13 rating now.
Steven Spielberg.
Here's one of the big heads right here. Here's a big head right here. We were talking about.
Yeah, that's the larger one.
Yeah.
But Spielberg put 2 films out called Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They are why we got PG-13 because
in fact
this should have been R-rated for some of the stuff that's in there.
I don't know if I'd go R, but that was this thing that Steven and George Lucas and some of those guys were trying to make an argument for. Is like every other country but ours had an equivalent to that. And there's a lot of these movies that aren't quite hard enough to be R. And I'm glad we got them because look at the kids nowadays with the way the rating system's all fucked up and how big of pansies they are. Stuff like this made us tough as kids, right? And this movie's basically the reason I'm here because it scared the ever-loving shit out of me as a kid. And it was the movie that made my mom have to try and figure out how to explain to me that movies weren't real. So, and she couldn't find a book or anything about the making of Gremlins. But what she did do is find a making of Star Wars and could basically explain it to me. It's like the Muppets, right?
So like, cool that your mom did that, dude.
Well, I couldn't sleep. Like she's like, I got to figure out something to fucking do, you know. So she took me down to the library and she was looking for anything on like the making of Gremlins, and she couldn't.
Where
find
did
that,
Steven Spielberg touch you? Show me on the doll.
It's a stormtrooper doll, by the way.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, I got to tell you, dude, I understand because like when I was the age you're talking about, I watched things like
well, I was like 4 when this movie came out, and it didn't help that my cousins told me the Gremlins were real.
Right. World War II. Yeah. A lot of people believe that shit too.
Well, I may be the psycho of the group because at age 4 I saw Orca in theaters with the whole leg ripping scene and all the blood and shit, and then it didn't affect me.
One thing that always traumatized me as a kid is Willow when the Hydra thing rips the Quark or something apart. That was brutal.
Well, I got to tell you, in the 70s, when I was that same age, Tom, I was addicted to horror films, and I was traumatized, but still fell in love with films like Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which got remade years later by what's his name, Del Toro, The Night Stalker, Salem's Lot, Gargoyles. The Gargoyles movie, I still fucking want to do that on one of these Saturdays because I love that film. Did you ever see that, Tom?
I don't think so.
No.
It was called The Gargoyles. It came out in 74, I think.
I've seen it, but it's been forever.
No, I just looked it up. It's 1972. Dark Shadows was a favorite show of mine, but Trilogy of Terror gave me fucking nightmares with the little voodoo doll. I just run around chasing that woman through her apartment. Jesus Christ. Biting teeth. I love
I'm beginning to understand why you're...
What?
I'm beginning to understand why you're so well adjusted, Gary.
Yeah. Thanks, Shanatsky. Thanks for understanding me.
I really don't get why all of you got so scared with movies.
Now,
I believe Valentine was the one that got me.
Do you know what movie this is? It's a Clark Gable film, and I don't remember it.
No,
Tom.
me
It's a race. I don't know. I just know he plays a racer in it, and this was originally a Looney Tunes cartoon here, and then they switched it out for this for some reason.
Because it's kind of weird. It's like off. It didn't make sense to me in the film.
Well,
But
it's there
I love
to
this scene.
set up the idea that he wants to drive a race car, because that's what it was. Is in the original cartoon.
Gizmo does.
Yeah, in
That's
the original
right.
cartoon, it was like I think it was like either a Tom and Jerry or a Looney Tunes equivalent of, where the mouse is like driving around in a little car. So like Gizmo sees that, but for some reason they switched it out for this movie instead. And then that way they can play it late. Like that's why you have the voiceover in the background going, it takes a certain kind of guy to drive a certain kind of car. And that guy has a certain kind of
yeah,
favor,
right.
Like that whole thing, that saying that he's saying, the Clark Gable thing. So whatever it was, I don't know, it was a movie that Joe Dante probably saw it. He's like, oh, that's perfect or something like that. You know how he is. So like, yeah, it's just
And
one
this
of those
is a
things
great
they
scene
changed.
for puppetry again, because this is Puppet Gizmo on the bed.
Yeah.
And he just starts introducing him. Like, this is normal.
I guess Corey kept acting like they were real. That helped a lot, I guess. But like,
And that's the big one. Again, the extreme close-up was the really big Gizmo.
Yeah, like when he's looking at the 3D thing and all that stuff, they had like a big 3D glasses and all that stuff. Yeah.
And that was the terrible 3D, by the way. The thing gave
Red
me
and
headaches
green,
wearing those glasses.
red and blue, yeah.
Yeah. Well. Hey, Gary has the face that can give people nightmares. Thanks, Tim. Hey, did you give Tim his video yet?
He's just asking for the video.
you-
No, that's why he's getting angry.
Don't give it to him. Don't give.
By what name are you known? There are some who call me.
Hello, Joe.
Fuck you, Tim.
Well, Tim, I try.
I stopped it, bastard. This also always remind me of Tribbles.
Yeah,
a little bit.
When he accidentally gets water on him. And this artwork was done by Joe Dante, right?
Some of it.
drawings?
It's either done by it was either done by Joe or what's his face we just talked about, Chuck Jones.
Chuck Jones.
Yeah. He did draw like the little werewolf and stuff there, because he said he did because he kept putting stuff in the movie just to like, because he's like, you go through this movie 500 times, especially through like the Mogwai and the Gremlin footage over and over and over and over and over and over again. So he said he threw a lot of little goofy things in there just to keep himself fucking amused.
Okay, now I actually made this joke back in the 80s, Tom. I said, this is Down syndrome Mogwai.
He does. They do kind of look off. Like you're right.
the
Like there's
mongoloid
something.
look. Yes.
They did kind of give him this weird. Their eyes are smaller and closer together, and they do have a bit different nose, and their mouths are a little bit more different. There's something about them that's just slightly different than Gizmo. But they all use the same interchangeable heads and shit, which is funny,
The
right?
faces,
Because yeah. So like, I mean, they built like a dozen of them or whatever, and depending on what. Because that's the thing with Gizmo, too, is outside of the close-ups, depending on what he's doing, like here, that face was built just to look like that. Then they'd pop that face off, and he'd have a face that was normal. Then they'd pop that face off where he'd look like he was happy. And then they'd pop that face off where he'd look like he was startled, or had his mouth wide open or whatever. Like, so that's what they would do, is they'd have, like, several different faces that they could put on that the animatronics
because the
would work with.
animatronic parts, no matter what, work the same way on every face.
But just to get different extreme expressions that way, they would do that. And then like because originally when he wasn't even going to be in the rest of the film, they only made the Mogwai stuff for the scenes they had it for. And the only thing they were really having trouble with was getting him to walk. Because in the original script, they eat the dog after midnight, and that's how they turn into gremlins. Well, and then in this version, instead of eating the dog, they kidnap him and put him outside. And the whole idea is that they're trying to sneak around the house, and they think the dog's going to fucking wake up, everybody. So that's why they do it or whatever.
What they're trying to do.
And there's a whole sequence that was supposed to be in the movie that they tried, and there's like, if you can find it out there, there's footage out there of them trying to make it work. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't get it to work, the Mogwai, so they tried crawling, they tried everything, they just couldn't get them to work. That's why in that one scene later on, that's the closest you got, when Gizmo's like crawling along there, that's what he's doing, is he's crawling on all fours. When you see him just kind of going like that towards the boxes and shit when he goes into the cars, That's what he's doing. But like they tried desperately from everything from marionette work to underneath rod puppeting to blue screen, like you were mentioning before, and just they couldn't get any of it to work. So they basically just did away with any of that kind of crap. And at that point, they're like, we don't need to worry about it anyway. Well, let's concentrate on the Gremlins. There's a lot more Gremlins in this movie anyway. And then at the last minute, Spielberg's like, you know what? These guys are cute, especially after they changed the hair from brown to the mixed color. He's like, these guys are cute. What if we keep one of them as a good guy throughout the entire film? And that changed the entire equation. Chris Walas, after he was done having a heart attack, pulled himself together and is like, okay, so what do we do here? So he got smart real quick, and he's like, we can just have him carry around this backpack everywhere, and that way he could put all the electronics inside the backpack. So then that way they were able to get Gizmo to just kind of like pop up and move around and do some minor little radio controlled, emotions here and there. And that saved their ass, because he's like, otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. There's no way we could have had him like sitting on his shoulder or having Billy carry around the fucking Mogwai with wires going down his legs and shit. It would have been a nightmare, he said.
It took up to 8 puppeteers to work them. I saw a photo of the filming, and it's mind-blowing, where the kid with the Mogwai in his backpack, he's just stepping out of the house, and there are like 6 people on the ground working the Mogwai. So
if they had any close-ups, that was the nightmare. Yeah, luckily with the far-away shots, they were at least able to get Gizmo to pop up. Like I said, he could move his head around, maybe blink, I think, and a few other things. But they said that basically saved their ass through the entire rest of the film, because otherwise they wouldn't have known how to keep Gizmo in the movie. And then at the end of the movie, he's they basically make him the hero on top of it all. So
which is funny, because the kid Galligan he thought he was the hero.
Yeah, because they cut out him opening up the other shade. Yeah,
opening the shade, it just shows Gizmo. And he's like, I thought I was the hero. And Joe Dante apparently told the kid, the movie is called Gremlins.
Well, that was the only thing that he got into it with the studio.
Adventure.
The studio's like, there's too many monsters and gremlins in this thing. Can we cut them down? And he goes, all right. So he comes back and he cuts it down to like 2 hours or whatever it was. And they're like, well, can we get some more of this gremlin stuff out of there? There's just too much. And he goes, look, I cut any more out, we might as well call this movie People.
That's a good comeback.
Because really, he's not wrong. The gremlins are not in it as much as you'd think at the end of the day. In the second film, there's a lot more gremlin stuff. But in this movie, like they said, they did go a little overboard, but he put a lot in on purpose because he knew they'd make him trim a lot out. But like they went nuts because they shot all the human stuff up front, right? Like, so all this stuff here, all the stuff with Billy and his family, all the stuff at the bank, anything that's gremlin free was shot right away. And then they made Phoebe Cates stick around for another 2 weeks, and Billy.
They actually had her come back, though. No,
they did Billy and her so they could finish off. Yeah, they had Billy and her so they could finish off the stuff in the bar scene, and the theater, and then in the store. But then they had Phoebe stay for another 2 weeks, so she stayed on the movie longer than anybody else, so she could film all this shit in the fucking bar.
Yeah,
and
the bar scene.
So they spent 2 weeks on the fucking bar scene. Yeah,
that was all last minute. Came up with this whole idea of all this crazy shit happening in a bar.
All of it was just ad-libbed mostly. The only things they knew going into it was how it was going to end, and that Kate was going to be trapped by these gremlins. And they just went to town. And they said they noticed that the more clothes and shit you put on them, the funnier they got. And they were just destroying. Like Chris was like, it was fun, but they were just destroying the puppets. So like half of his day was spent doing puppetry. The other half was fixing the puppets, because these guys were using like beer, and you had peanuts and popcorn and salt shit all over the fucking place. So these puppets were starting to deteriorate and fall apart already. And then the bar itself. So first of all, you had the first level, right? Which is the actual bar. And then it was built like a Muppet stage, to where underneath this, it's basically built on top of a stage. So you have all these fucking puppeteers underneath there. So you basically had 2 worlds. So you had the upper world where it was like by day 3 or 4, the beer and the popcorn were really starting to stink.
Yeah.
And starting to ferment and grow shit. And then you had the dungeon, as they called it, underneath the stage.
With a puppet.
Where not only,
right.
Whereas that shit was seeping down into there, plus whatever those guys would bring in on the daily. So like they said by the end of the shoot, it was one of the nastiest fucking things they'd ever done, because it just smelled the high heaven in there. And it was just a nasty mess. They destroyed the place. Like, it was just, yeah. I mean, and then
I got to show an image here, Tom, because Slasher Fred brought this up, and you brought it up earlier about Rockin'. What was the character's name?
Ricky Rialto.
Yeah, Rockin' Ricky Rialto. Here's the billboard.
Yes. Yeah. This looks
Can
like.
You drop the comment down, Martin. There we go.
This is the voice of Rockin' Ricky Rialto, the voice of Kingston Falls, USA.
Because he was a real DJ.
Rockin' Ricky's getting real tired of these prank calls.
Prank calls. Now, I pause here for a reason because Futterman, people made the mistake of thinking he got killed at the end of the film. There's
he lives in the movie. Yep.
You can hear that they're going to interview him at the end. That TV reporter is going to interview him. Two people who survived the attack, the Futtermans. And so...
Because a lot of people think that they fudged that. Yeah, they're like, oh, they definitely died. And no, they didn't. They actually survived.
They didn't. They survived. You can't kill the one guy who knew what they were.
I was going to say, Dick Miller knows how to take care of some gremlins.
Damn Skippy.
That's what I love about the second film is they actually he takes one on himself. Now it's the Bat Gremlin, and he takes it down.
Which we got to do that. Next
the second film is such a fucking treat. Like, I mean, I almost love the second movie more than the first film, like most people, but it's like one of those things
I actually do, because
you have to have the first movie for the second movie to work, though. That's the problem.
And Glover did such a good job playing Trump, or a version.
Well, it's because he changed. He was so likable, they ended up changing the story because he was initially supposed to be more of a villain.
And another actor who loves to work with the director, Joe Dante, is Picardo.
Yep.
And he's in it.
Yep.
And he has the best character wrap up when he ends up with
the female
the Tammy Faye Baker gremlin.
Greta, yeah. He's like, fuck it.
The noises she made.
Oh, I love the second film. The second film's great. But yeah.
Oh my God. Tony Randall is fucking brilliant in that film.
Don't talk about Lincoln. There was this one time on Lincoln's birthday. Honey, we don't have time for this.
You don't have time for this. Just to go into one of the dark stories. Joe Dante just had fun making that movie. And you
fucking Phoebe is such a dark character in this movie. And people don't really notice it at first. Like, she hates Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
She's emo as fuck.
She doesn't look emo, but she is. She is.
Yeah, like she's like, people are killing themselves. It's like they're opening up their wrists while other people are opening up their presents. What the fuck, you and your Christmas?
It's like the South Park version. It's like, I hate Christmas per se.
Yeah.
It's like Merry Christmas.
And this scene here is really the only time the movie kind of slows down, if you think about it. But it's kind of like a calm before the storm in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. It's the calm before the storm because it's about to ramp up nuts. Her dad died trying to climb down the chimney and broke his neck.
And got stuck there.
Yep. No, he was Roger Corman Studios. That guy helped Corman so much. He's in the original Little Shop of Horrors. Bucket of Blood is my favorite movie with him. You seen that one?
Years ago.
Where he's a sculptor, and what he does is he kills people and then covers them with cement and turns them into art. But the dead body is still inside. It's fucked up, dude.
Just a little blood test now.
And this is where they make him look like a bad guy.
This poor little fucking Mogwai. Well, look at the size of that goddamn needle, and he shoves it in his paw.
I know, that's like a 12-gauge needle. Dude.
Yeah, like, fuck,
and
like, dude, like...
That's not how you draw blood. Just shove it in there somewhere. How could that be a doctor when he's not even looking for a vein?
People were being raided by Mephisto.
Hey, Mephisto's
hey, Raiders.
But, you know, here's another bit that was changed from the original script, how he died. So it's almost exactly the same, except for this little fucker gets so pissed, he stabs him with dozens of needles in his ass.
Yeah.
So and the censors wouldn't allow that one. So luckily they filmed one that had just one needle. But like, Joe kind of figured they wouldn't let him get away with that. But I'm sure he traded that. He probably traded that for like the blender or the microwave, because I'm sure the microwave.
I was just going to say there's enough gore in
"Eh."
there. I mean, when mommy goes on the killing spree in the kitchen, Jesus.
Mom
Christ.
kicks some ass, yeah.
Yeah.
That's some mom. Let me tell you.
Damn right, she kills
Nation of
4
the
of them
Body Snatchers
hand in hand combat, more than Billy actually does.
Dude,
if you don't count the explosion.
Did you notice that the one that she stabs, he left him pinned on the cutting table with the knife?
Or, I'm sorry,
and the
you're
gremlin
right.
is still alive.
Yeah,
He's
that's
still
right.
alive.
I'm sorry, she kills 3. You're right, because he kills the 4th one.
Yeah, the blender, the stabbing. She stabs
The
him.
microwave.
Yeah,
and the
And
microwave.
then
The microwave.
The microwave was awesome when it just pops in.
And yeah, they actually had to cut a bunch out of the one getting stabbed. Believe of all the ones they had to cut out, that's the one they had to cut the most out
It was
because
too violent.
it's too violent. And you actually, as you're just saying there was more of him like dying, because like you said, you can notice it in the background he's still moving. Like there were close-ups of that. I guess he's just going. They said they shoved as much gremlin shit as they could in the first cut just because they knew they were going to make him chop it all out. But yeah.
If they want to make it
McCain and Die Hard, 2 stories
Hi,
of sheer adventure.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
if they really want to make the stabbing hilariously brutal, just start having like green blood go everywhere.
Yeah, well,
I
there
mean,
was,
the
I'm
mom
sure.
hacks at the thing like crazy. He stabs it like 20 times or more.
There is a image somewhere out there. I think I have it right here, actually.
From the moment on the gremlins are loose, it's just pure mayhem and brutality and gore. But it's so on the top that it's funny.
I'll find it eventually. I'm trying to remember what I did with it.
Dude,
I'm
let
glad
it
you
roll.
brought that up, Slasher Fred, because there's no such thing as coincidence with these filmmakers. So
Is he looking at a magazine? I thought he was watching a movie in 3D.
he was watching.
No, he's looking at a
magazine.
comic book in 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably Jaws 3.
Yeah. I went to see that in the theater in 3D, by
Yep.
the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did I.
Me too.
Is that another one of your weird Christmas movies?
No, it's Jaws 3D, not a Christmas movie.
No.
If anything, it's more of a 4th of July film. The Jaws films are 4th of July films.
Okay.
So I pause it here because I think this is where we started seeing clips from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1950s version, right
Well,
before
not yet.
they pod out.
They haven't eaten yet.
Yeah, they trick him by unplugging the clock.
Yeah, Billy
Hey,
didn't
Space
notice.
Flagel.
Billy didn't notice that the second hand on the clock wasn't moving.
Yeah, you should have noticed that.
Okay, that's bring
Dennis
some-
Quaid was in that. Oh wait, what's this? What's this?
Wait.
What's this?
Oh.
Damn it!
Damn,
Oh,
boy.
is that Joe Dante or did he sign it?
Maybe both. You never know.
I didn't meet him, but I paid him to do it.
Goddamn Skippy. That's nice.
That was Joe Dante after he met with executives.
After
they
the
really
opening
did mess
weekend of
with him.
Gremlins 2.
Yeah.
Because you know what's sad is
Yes.
Gremlins 2 was one of Warner Brothers' biggest flops for many years, sadly.
Which one? You said Gremlins 2?
Gremlins 2. Yeah,
Oh,
because
that
it cost
sucks.
like, I think, what was it, over $20 million they spent on it, and it only made like 14 or 15 million or 19 million altogether, something like that. It did not make its money back by far, yeah.
That's a shame because that's
or maybe it had like a
that's
$42 million fucking budget.
Yeah,
I
here
can't.
it
It was a
is.
huge ass budget.
There's
Just goes
McCarthy.
to show.
On the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just goes to show, never parody your own series with a sequel.
But the movie
Well, it had
was
everything that should make
It worked.
a good
I think it
sequel.
was the timing. I think there was a few other factors. Like, first of all, it was like 3 years too late, right? Like, that's the problem. Gremlins had kind of already been out of the zeitgeist for a little bit, and it hadn't quite. Maybe if they waited another 4 years or done it 3 years sooner, like that's what I mean. Like, it just something about it was like the wrong timing, and it came out in a really packed summer, and it just, I'm trying to remember what it opened up against and got its ass kicked.
Batman, was it? Or
No, it was summer 1990, so it was the year. I think it got beat by Dick Tracy, if I remember right, because they even moved it up like a week to get it out of the way, and it still got the shit kicked out of it. Because it just flopped badly.
Now,
It just came and went, and people didn't really discover it until later. Oh, there's one of the faces. Yeah,
I look at that fucking face of the kid. You know, not
it's a
kid.
stoner face.
He is so, his eyes aren't even closed. They're like half droopy, and his mouth is arched downward. I think that's just a great fucking
So
face.
cartoony, but it's adorable.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I did. I had all the Gremlin toys.
I
when
did
it came
too,
out.
except for the big one that you were talking about. I'm still looking for that one. That
Oh
one's a
yeah,
little
I
bit-
got that big.
That's one of the tougher ones to find. I mean, I have the big puppet that I have,
and
now,
it's
but,
terribly it's only got 4 points of or 5 points of
It was
articulation.
fragile as fuck. That's one of the reasons why they're hard to find, because they fall
I mean,
apart real easy.
the Rancor was a better toy.
Yes,
than
yeah.
The Gremlin.
Well, the Gremlins toys felt kind of like afterthoughts. They were really weird because it's like it almost, and it's probably because that late in the game when they changed the idea of what it was going to be a little bit more, the more kitty and more kitty and more kitty it got. Like, because I'm sure at first they weren't planning on it, and then as soon as Gizmo was going to be sticking around through the whole movie, then they're like, well, now we can sell this thing.
Exactly.
Like, I know Joe Dante says like that was kind of like his whole comment at the end of part 2 with John Glover was like, as soon as that movie was a hit, that's all he could remember was there's meetings about, well, we can sell this, and I can see this guy with suction cups and on car windows.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Put them on car windows. No, put that back on there because I want to address this. I would not watch this show because I found out that they called him Gizmo.
me
And
too. Yeah, I watched it
it
the
was
first few
stupid.
episodes, and there were so many problems I had with it. I'm so disappointed that Joe Dante even had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Hi guys, good evening. How are
Hey
you?
man,
Hi, Mephisto.
Hey.
Hey, Mephisto.
See,
You
there's a
night
lovely
bird.
crowd here in the old studio.
And
Hi,
here's a
Tom.
nice supportive wife. She's about to lie to her husband and say that his machine works when it clearly doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know how she puts up with him. Everything
Okay,
he
so
brings
there's-
home
It's
is
the time machine.
garbage.
Okay, so there's Jerry Goldsmith on the left. I'm trying to remember who's on the right there. Whoever it is on
No,
the right
that's
is
not somebody. What it is he's dressed
somebody dressed like Joe Dante,
Dante.
but I'm trying to remember
Yes.
who it is that's dressed like Joe Dante. But like, yeah, and then there's the time machine in the back, so keep your eye on that because it's going to disappear with that old man in there. And then Steven Spielberg's going to come in here right after
There's
Robbie,
Robbie.
the Robot. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
there's
Steven
Steven
Spielberg
on
in the
little
background.
cycle. And there's
on
the
the
time
left.
machine's already gone.
Time
Or is it
machine's
still?
gone and
No, it's still there.
Spielberg.
It's still there. Never mind. It's powering up yet.
But there's Spielberg on the left. He's on that tricycle wheelchair.
And he really had a broken leg. So
Yes, he
this
did.
is how
yeah.
they put him in the scene, put him in a fantastic wheelchair. Because he couldn't walk.
Yeah, rest in peace, the guy who created the time machine, 1952 to 1227.
Yeah, there's the time machine is gone.
Yeah.
Now this is
Was it?
an actor who was in everything in the late 50s, going through the 60s into the 70s.
If you could just speak
This
to
was
Mrs.
his
Deagle about
last.
it.
This was his last project. He died right after making this.
Speak to Mrs. Deagle. Deposit this to my account. I could do this whole movie.
Yeah.
Right now.
Wasn't John Landis at the Adventure Expo? Like he walks by briefly. I'm trying to remember.
It could have been, yeah, like because Joe and John always had this thing about shoving directors in their movies. So
getting their friends in their films.
Friends,
Like if you watch the movie Into the Night, you've got Carl fucking Perkins in it, David Bowie, Frank Oz, Jim Henson, David Cronenberg.
You mean the
all in
acclaimed
the movie?
You mean the acclaimed director David Bowie?
Yeah, the acclaimed director. That's what he was known for.
I won't be able. I won't. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you mean you mean Davy Jones?
That's his real name, but yeah, no.
Yeah, got it.
I will say this too: the Gremlins tend to be agents of karma in this film.
Agents of karma?
Yeah, pretty much everybody who gets smoked had it coming.
Yeah. In this version, correct. Yeah.
I was gonna say I can't really stay that long because I am really tired, but I do remember that there was an issue with the movie at the very end. I know we're not there yet, but at the movie at the end, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think Tom, you told me there was something to do with Disney that they wouldn't allow it at some point, but somebody convinced them. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I was saying it earlier. I was like, because even Joe comments about it on the commentary about how they were surprised that they were able to finally get it, but I'm pretty sure it was Steven Spielberg that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Probably that sort of a thing. I remember when we talked about it years ago. It was, to me, one of my favorite scenes is where you see the entire Gremlins kind of waddle through the streets, and you see all the different puppeteers. And we mentioned it took a long time to make just one of these, and they needed like a few of those, and they kind of replicated them. And then when they were sitting down at this big movie theater, every single one had his own kind of personality to them as they were singing with the dwarf song. And it was, I love that part. I like the way how Billy kind of dispatches everybody there, but just before the dispatching, the fact that they're enjoying this cartoon, even though they're sort of crazy, chaotic animals. Yeah,
and they love it.
They go off
that
on
scene's
the
great.
dwarf song.
Yeah. Well, because they had a few different types of Gremlins puppets. You had the hero puppet, which is the one that you see with the cookie, and whenever Stripes, it's usually Stripe whenever he's on a close-up. And that's the one that had the most expression, but it also had the most wires and was the heaviest, and it was stationary. You could not move it. They had a few marionette ones. They had hand puppets. Then they just had stunt ones. And then so basically in the theater scene, there's so many Gremlins that they were grabbing like Teamsters and everybody else they could and strapping Gremlins to their heads, and they had each one on each hand. So you had like each person was controlling like 3 Gremlins in that scene, just so they could get enough people in there with Gremlins. And yeah, they had just tons and tons of them in various versions. And like between that scene and the bar scene is where you get to see the most of them. Like in the one shot alone, you get
all
like,
the gags,
puppet Gremlin, the marionette one, and the hero Gremlin, like all in a few shots there. So it's like, yeah.
Oh, let's not forget the stop motion scene when they're on the street.
Oh yeah, and then there's a stop motion as well. Thank you. You're right. Yeah.
The brilliant thing in that scene is one of the studio lights blew, and the people were like, "Oh god damn it, we have to do it all over again." And
Joe actually did most of that himself.
No, we don't. Just keep going. We'll figure out.
Keep going, and they'd make the sound of one of them breaking the light.
Like the Gremlins destroyed a street light, and that's exactly what it looks like. It's brilliant.
Joe still has one of those little claymation Gremlins, I guess.
I think most of the puppets themselves were destroyed or degraded or something. There's not much left of them, right?
They sold a few left. Yeah, there was a few bits and pieces left that sold a few years ago, but 90% of what's out there now on the market stuff from Part 2. Like the guys from Red Letter Media bought a bunch of their arms from Part 2. Like from the scene in the elevator.
I wonder who got the spider.
It's hard to say.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think Rick has that one. See, I think Rick has like most of the hero versions of those. And see, Rick knew how to actually preserve them. That was the problem. Chris, he didn't. That back then they didn't know how, and so like a lot of he's got a few of the original things, but huh?
Don't they coat them with a special oil?
So yeah, it's like a plasticine oil or something like that.
So
like
it doesn't break down.
Yeah, and that's what Rick does.
A lot of them suffered from the bar scene because of all the popcorn and beer everywhere.
That's what he was saying. Yeah, that's what Chris is saying in that one documentary I was telling you about too. Is that so many of them are so destroyed now from that scene that because I think he's got a couple of gizmos left, and most of them are just like the armatures or whatever you call it, and just like hanging bits of,
If you want a good example of how badly they decay, when they found the Hoggle from Labyrinth in the suitcase, like it just got lost in luggage, and they open it up and it's like literally a nightmare.
Well, if you've seen any of the Ninja Turtle ones, they're just the Ninja Turtle ones are just as bad too. If you've seen any of those,
somebody told me that it looks like somebody's nightmare when they saw them because their eyes.
Well, it's because and it's kind of weird because it actually almost is like they're dead because what happens is the latex shrinks. So then it kind of like how like skin shrinks after you die. It's because the moisture comes. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. It is that. So it is kind of that uncanny kind of like nightmare feel, like you're looking at part of your childhood dead and decayed. Now it's like, yeah.
Hoggle, no, don't go.
All right, that's probably it for me, guys. I really have to go to bed. But
really
please enjoy it. And Gary, please answer your God-given email, not email.
I
DM.
did. I told you I answered even in the other one. I said, yes, the 28th, I will be there.
Fine. Tom, the 28th of December or the 27th, Gremlins 2.
Sure.
All right. I'll hit
you. And then we're going to do it on here later.
Cool. Awesome.
So you can be there for that one. Awesome. Yeah, I'll be there with you, buddy. All right, man.
Sure. I'll give you the details in a bit. All right.
Live long and prosper.
Yep.
I will.
Now, I love the little detail here in this scene where there's literally like you can see a dust imprint of the gremlin's hand on the record player, and you can see his footprints on the receiver. Like they went to that far of detail. Yeah,
that is so neat.
You hear what I hear?
Yeah, good luck seeing that one.
Andy Williams. Oh, I love this shot. That shot is great. I always loved that shot. Where she looks around the corner and then you got the gremlin in the shadow there.
Yeah, actually, Anima thought that was her shadow. I went, no, that's not her shadow. That was the gremlin shadow. And she goes, oh, that's so neat. And I went, yeah.
There's the hero. There's the hero gremlin right there. Yeah, it's the most expensive one. And yeah, Stripe was basically any gremlin they needed at that time. They had the hair. And they would just
slap the mohawk.
Which was what's one thing Rick Baker really wanted to bring to the table, because like he was real hesitant about doing the second film, and they were kind of in a lurch. It's like Chris was going to do Fly 2, so they didn't have him. But who are you going to get, right? Like, are you going to get Stan Winston? Are you going to get Rick Baker? Who are you going to get? Well, Rick Baker was probably the best at some of this kind of stuff. So he was the obvious choice, but he wanted to bring his own flair to it, which at first, as a kid,
he turned it down first though, until they gave him that.
Yeah, he turned it down until they gave him as much money as he wanted, basically. And I think he got like
it was the freedom.
A big chunk of the freedom. A big chunk of the budget was just for Gremlins, guys. You guys can understand it. Like Robert Meyer Burnett's told the story before about the Gremlin vault they had on Warner Lot that he ended up.
You mean Robert Meyer Burnett that doesn't like Goonies?
Yeah, that one. Well, he talked about showing off some girls to the Gremlin lot, to the Gremlin vault one day, and he got in trouble for it because there was like $2.5 million or $4 million worth of Gremlins in there or some shit like that. Because I think they spent like $10 million altogether on all the Gremlin stuff. So like, yeah, and
I love R&B,
so like
but that
Rick's
shocked
thing,
me.
I won't get too deep into it. We'll save it for part 2. But like, yeah, Rick's whole thing is he wanted to add a little bit more character to each one. So not only does he have different characters for each one of the first generation Mogwai / Gremlins, all of the regular Gremlins, there's like 2 or 3 different variants basically on the Gremlins, as opposed to this film where they're all the same. There's no difference. They're all from the same
Yeah,
mold.
they all look the same.
Yeah, they all
Tony
look the
Randall's
same.
has a sophistication to him. You had the
Yep.
spider gremlin,
which is
had
Mohawk
the
as well.
bat.
Yeah.
The bat one was the coolest one in my opinion.
So yeah, there's like 6 or 7 like just straight up like unique designs, and then just the flat out generic gremlins. There's like I think 3 or 4, because there's I think 2 brown and 1 green gremlin. If not 2, or if not, there's 2 variations of each, because there's brown and green gremlins. So yeah.
Hey Tom, what you just told me, there's your plot for Gremlins 3 right there. A bunch of thieves tried to steal from the Warner archives, and there's a bunch of gremlins locked in there.
And they turn out to be real. That might actually work, because that's a little different than my initial idea for Gremlins 3 for years, because farther we get away from it, there's no way mine would work.
And going back to Twilight Zone, the movie, that's another example of Joe Dante's love for Looney Tunes and using animatronic creatures.
And you even have Bart Simpson in his segment.
Oh.
Nancy Cartwright's the one that gets trapped in the TV.
Yep.
Dr. Molinaro.
Be careful, Billy. And I think it was done on purpose on South Park that Grandpa keeps calling his grandson
Billy.
Stan. He keeps calling him Billy. Billy.
I think he calls all of them Billy, doesn't he?
You need to do what I say, Billy. I just thought it was some connection to this. I'm like, why does he call him Billy? It has to be this. You don't think so? All right.
Nah, I don't think so.
Man, that character in South Park is interesting. One of the darkest things ever. You have to kill me, Stan. I want to die.
I want to die.
Excuse.
This is the scene. If you watch this, the dialogue that Robbie the Robot is saying is straight from the movie Forbidden Planet when he's given the cookie 60 gallons of bourbon. Will 60 gallons be sufficient? I don't normally work on this because it rusts my innards. Again, it was sweltering hot in all these cold scenes.
You got
they did a good job of making it look like it was winter.
They did a fantastic job.
Well, and then you got to sit there and figure out how the fuck did they get the Gremlins tracks in there without any human tracks next to them?
You rake them over as you're passing by.
Yeah, pretty much, probably. That, or they used a marionette or something.
Yeah, absolutely a good nod to the Blob with Steve McQueen trying to.
Well, one funny thing they tried doing that never happened was they tried using an ape, and this is why the Gremlins are the size they are,
well, it's
the
same
shape
thing.
They are.
Don't forget they tried to do that with Close Encounters too.
Yeah, well,
they used an orangutan in that one. That did not work.
Because
that
initially
backfired. They put him on roller skates, and that animal was like, "Yeah, I'm the fuck out of here." What's wrong with you guys?
To rewind a little bit, they initially wanted the Gremlins to be much smaller. Like they were supposed to be like more like Gizmo size, the Gremlins themselves. But Chris convinced the studio and Joe and Steven that no, you got to go at least a little bit bigger to where hand puppet size for one thing, because otherwise you're never going to be able to get animatronics in these things. They're going to be impossible to do anything with. And so he talked them into going a little bit bigger. So they roughly are like 2.5 feet to almost 3 feet tall, roughly. I can't remember the exact height of them. But if you notice, they walk in this hunched over
the legs like an old man.
Kind of, but if you look at them, if you kind of take out the gremlin head,
it has a chimpanzee look.
A chimpanzee look to it. So what their plan was, and this was the other reason why they did this, is they're like, look, the other thing is we can probably train a monkey or an ape or a chimpanzee or whatever to get into one of these costumes so you can do like the actual full body shots. And so that was the initial plan, and that's why they're the shape they are. And the moment they put one of the costumes on one of the fucking chimpanzees, it went apeshit crazy. It started tearing the costume off and everything and tried ripping the face and everything. They're like, yeah, this is not going to work. And it like shit in the costume and all this other stuff. It was big, huge disaster. Yeah, so like that's not going to work. Just not going to work. So yeah, they were basically stuck at square one again, but they made it work this time out. But the face itself, like the face was the other kind of design where Chris really sat down and thought a lot about it. Like, what are these creatures going to look like? Right? Because they're kind of described in the original script, but they're kind of nondescript. Oh, here's the
this is the scene, and right when they all appear, suddenly there was a light. Now on this, because this is reversed, it would be on the right hand side. One of the lights they were using to light the claymation characters, or rubber with wire endoskeletons,
stop motion,
stop motion models. The light went out, it blew out, and it was caught on camera. And they're like, "Oh shit!" And then he's like, "No, keep going. Don't start all over." He says, "We'll just
add a sound effect later." Yeah. Well, Joe actually did a lot of this himself, I guess. So a lot of this.
I'm not surprised. Joe's very gifted.
I can't remember what this is. This is some. Fuck. I'm trying to remember. I knew what it was too, and I forgot the show that Mr. Futterman's watching.
The look on Dick Miller's face there when he's looking at his wife.
He's like, you got to be kidding.
You just don't get a better actor than Dick Miller, man.
These two together were in so many movies together. Little Shop of Horrors, and weren't they in Bucket of Blood together and a couple other things?
She was the original Audrey.
Yep.
Took me a while
because she was in Bucket of Blood. They both came up through the B movie system of Roger Corman Studios, and he was a steady Roger Corman guy. He loved working with him.
Hey, June, quit messing with the TV.
Someone's snoring here.
I told you we should have got a Zenith.
Somebody is snoring. Is it Martin?
Yeah, we have a sleeper on the panel.
No, I have my mute. I have my.
Oh, it's Stephen. Stephen fell asleep. Hold on.
Stephen got narcolepsy?
The Gremlins got him.
There, I muted him so we don't have to hear it.
I just want to make sure he's okay and he doesn't have narcolepsy.
He did a Keith, yeah. He absolutely did a Keith.
I swear to God, Tom, there's so many times doing a show with Keith, and all of a sudden you could see him on camera doing this.
First he goes quiet, and then his head goes down.
And then suddenly you start hearing.
It's a thing with old men. Once we hit a certain age, now you make me tired thinking about it.
Now, this is why people think he gets killed, because him and his wife are in the headlights of this thing, and it looks like it's going to go right through
He's
him.
a real
but
gremlin.
they did not get killed. They survived it. At the end of the film, it's put in there. You can hear that they were going to be interviewed by the TV reporter for having fought off these gremlins. And he goes, "It's them! It's them!"
It's okay, honey. I heard it too. Of course you heard it too. What the hell does that mean? I love that.
So
this second movie.
Now, this is William Schaller and Harry Carey Jr. in this scene. Harry Carey, now he's listed as possibly dead, but there's no proof because all we know is his arm gets attacked.
Yeah.
So, but that's the two of them in this scene. The mailbox scene. It spits the mail back at him.
For some reason in my brain, and I don't know why this is, and there's something to do with the two. There's like the two clergymen in town too. I'm trying to remember. Or because maybe Harry Carey is like the other one, I think.
Because he's the one you meet at the bank the first time.
Because I think he's the Catholic priest and he's like a preacher or whatever for
and the other guy's just a minister.
Lutherans or whatever. Yeah, or minister. Yeah, that's what it is. I think that's what it is in the original story, but like, because there's a little bit more between them or whatever. But like,
yeah, I've always wondered because I know a lot more was shot if we were ever going to get a director's cut that had all the scenes put back in that he shot.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of, like I said, there's a whole subplot cut out. There's tons of other little bits and pieces here and there that kind of fill out the town. And
see, what I liked about the movie Matinee is they actually produced this mini film within the movie.
Yeah, they did.
And they actually released the movie within the movie because you could actually watch it separately on the special edition DVD.
Yeah.
The movie Mant. There he is, Jonathan Banks. God, I fucking love that guy as an actor.
It's so weird to see him having hair.
Right.
It's also so weird seeing him do comedy.
Yeah, it's a rarity to see him do comedy. Yeah. And he's good at it in here too. Because they get, honestly, this bit here to me is one of the biggest laughs in the movie.
Yeah. And what he
And
says
then like
to
the other bit, yeah, he's like, "Why don't I get to drive? Because you're drunk. You
'Cause you're
always get to
drunk."
drive because I'm the sheriff, asshole." Then I love that when they're in the car. He's like, "Look, it's Dave Mars. He plays Santa every year." Just the way he says it, it's just kind of like, dude's fucking dying, and you're just sitting there like, it's Tuesday. He's like, "Yeah, but what's that stuff he's got all over?"
He pulled off some comedy
80s
with
Cops.
Community too. If you ever watched that, he was in the 4th season of Community.
It sucks you had that backwards and it only up for a little bit. If you notice her hours, she's only open for like a few minutes. It's hilarious. I can't remember the exact hours, but it's like 11:15 to 11:30 a.m. or something like that.
Right, that, yeah. And this movie makes cat ladies look bad.
No, it doesn't. It's just the one crazy chick. Come on. And the cat.
Now, did anybody
don't
else
even
catch
like
all
her.
the names she has for the cats?
No, I didn't. What were they?
They're all named after currency. Yeah.
No
Dollar
shit.
bill, yeah, dollar
Really?
bill, and yeah.
I didn't catch that. That's funny.
Christmas Carol.
Oh, that scene was awesome.
Okay, so there's also another bit that sets this up that got cut out too, where she does throw water on a bunch of actual carolers. So, and those are the carolers that these fuckers steal their clothes. So that's all cut out too. So that's the thing is weird about this movie, watching it now as an adult. I'm like, how did I get this movie as a kid? There's so many payoffs for shit that's never set up. Like, I guess you just got to kind of deduce it yourself. You're just kind of like, okay.
It's probably because they're fantastical creatures, so you're willing to accept bigger leaps of logic.
Well, it just kind of sets
Johnny
up why
Cleary's
she's
here.
so pissed, right? Because they keep bugging her, and she keeps telling them to leave her alone. Oh, there's the eyes.
This right there is the best death in this movie.
Yeah, that's Edward Albert. His eyes are looking right at
My
where
God,
she just
Frank.
went out the window.
That was Mrs. Deagle. They
Yeah,
fucked that
well.
up. It's Frank, not Fry. What the fuck?
Oh, and this is where he cuts the brakes. So they die too, by the way.
Can't
the
stop
sheriff and deputy.
it.
I love the way he just rolls the window up on the gremlin.
Yeah. He's like, and the gremlin's like, how, how. This is what I was talking about. He's just
they
like,
are funny.
he just says it like, oh, look, it's Dave Mars. He plays Santa every year. Yeah, and Corey gets his few minutes here.
He's using a slingshot, is it? I can't remember.
Slingshot,
he's
then he
using a
cuts.
slingshot.
Yeah,
And
then
he
he
cuts
cuts
the
the
wire.
electric cord, which I can't believe he didn't zap himself because he used pure metal
Those
scissors.
are rubber.
on
Yeah.
it.
Those are rubber handled. That's
Are they? They
what
didn't look
do
like
is
they were rubber handled.
They dip them into rubber. So I know the scissors he's got there. Same with my aunt and uncle had.
I was wondering
Yeah.
that because like I always thought that. I was like, shit, he should have zapped himself if he did that like that without the plastic or rubber handles. Yeah.
Yeah, that black part of the scissor is actually rubber.
See, and this is another thing I felt like they kind of left off or to the side that you kind of figure out is like Mr. Futterman fixed his car while he was at work that one day, I think is kind of what's implied there. Because remember, it just starts right up here. He's like,
Yep.
I don't believe it.
But it
That's-
stalls on him later.
It does, but that was my headcanon is that's the reason it starts up is because Mr. Futterman futzed with it, probably.
Mobile oil. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, they're still around. We have a mobile here in town.
I don't see that logo anymore, though. It's always mobile. You don't see the Pegasus.
True. Yeah, Slasher Fred. I remember that was it was like a British commercial, I remember, or something like that. Yeah.
The one that came out just about a decade ago.
Yeah, but there was an official one not too long ago here for Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys saw that with
Where they got
Zach
together, him and
Galligan.
Gizmo.
Yeah. Mountain Dew one, yeah.
It led to speculation, will there be a sequel? And it's like, they're not going to do another one.
I actually have the figure from that commercial. Like they have the little Mogwai figure of that. Her
Oh,
little-
really?
Yeah.
Oh. I want to get another Mogwai to go with my baby Yoda.
What I have here is the Peltzer smokeless ashtray.
And again, the joke payoff is later The Chinese gentleman played by Key Luke.
Man, at gas station try to sell me.
He says, you ever seen one of these? He goes, yes, smokeless ashtray. And he goes, yeah, you know what it is? He goes, yeah, man at garage tried to sell me one of those.
I love his take when he realizes he calls it the Pelter smokeless ashtray or whatever. He's like, how'd you know that is?
Maybe because it says it on the title.
Yeah, he's like, man at gas station tried to sell me. Latest
He
word
is
in technology.
Chinese. Guys,
Chinese,
he's Chinese.
yeah.
He knows everything that gets sold.
I love that. The one that's belly just keeps filling up.
Oh my God, yeah. He's like got the tap and just
All the
opens it.
sight gags in this are so great. And they, of course, they do 10 times better in part 2, but like.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite bit of the entire movie is just them at the bar.
The cross-dressing gremlin.
Well, technically, they're all
asexual
and
yeah.
bisexual. Yeah, they're ambisexual.
Or,
You know,
yeah,
they have no real gender. So
They don't-
even the
yeah.
female that falls in love with Robert Picardo in the second movie, technically.
Well, she does have hormones, so I don't know. That's debatable.
I
the sound.
I always
she's
thought
chucked up full of hormones. So yeah.
No, I always thought they were going off Bugs Bunny logic that they're male until they put on a dress kind of deal.
Did you ever find Bugs Bunny
they figured out
attractive?
they looked funny when they were clothes, so they went crazy and put them in costumes.
Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he
Thank you,
dressed
Judith.
up like a girl bunny?
No. Why?
That's a joke. That's a joke.
No.
That's a joke from a movie.
I love that.
I love that film.
Me neither. I just thought I'd ask.
Oh, it was an absolute ripoff of Gizmo. Furby.
Oh yeah, they got sued. I used to have the Gizmo Furby, and some ex-girlfriend of mine stole it. I think it was my son's mom, actually. I like how she figures
Soul
it out here,
Assassin. Soul Assassin. That is the sound of the female gremlin from Gremlins 2.
She's the first trans character in film history.
And Gary is doing a really good impression of that. Should I be concerned?
It just cracked me up. I'm sorry. I found that so damn funny. But that's
I'm
actually
going to watch
not
my
true,
clothes
Tom.
around you.
Well, she is the only one that's actually a Fleischer character, if you think about it. She's that, the ugly chick that they make fun of in like Roger Rabbit from all the Fleischer commercials or cartoons where you think it's the hot redhead when it's really not. So then it's like, yeah. With the big old lips and the whole lot of hunk, she said.
I just love that she's still trying to do her job.
A film came out in 1974 called Freebie and the Bean, Tom, that actually has a female impersonator actor in it who came out later as trans. And it ends up in one of the best fight scenes because she is kicking the shit out of James Caan. He's doing karate kicks and shit, and Khan's like trying to fight him in the regular way and just getting his ass handed to him. Finally, he gets his gun and fucking blows her away. What I'm talking about, man, you couldn't make that movie today.
This was one of the first movies I remember seeing on the television, even in the television version, where they warned you about scenes of violence and other things. Like it was like parental discretion advised. I remember that.
when this aired.
Especially they did it right before the scene with the Santa Claus bit. Like that one I specifically remember.
Which is hilarious because it's just dialogue of a story being told.
No, but you got to remember at that time, like, this movie got away with a lot of shit for 80s television, actually. Like, even though I don't even think it premiered until 87. Like it took a couple of years to get to television, but like, yeah, because they re-released it again in 85. And that's the poster everybody knows, believe it or not. The original poster is the one that we got way behind us here, where it's before he's busting through, but then when Stripe's busting through, that's the
that was a
poster.
re-release, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where he pops out of the post.
Yeah, because it actually is one of the funniest re-release trailers of all time. Let me see if I can find it here real quick, because I'm sure you can get away with showing it. It shows hardly any footage.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is the story right here. of her dad in the fucking chimney with the broken
I expected
neck.
them to pull out a dead cat or a bird, and instead they pulled out my father.
And that's how I learned there was no Santa.
And that's how I learned there was no Santa Claus.
All right, here we go. Let's do it.
So here's the re-release trailer. This is actually pretty good.
A very special event is coming your way. A chance to rediscover a landmark in entertainment. This summer will mark the return of this epic adventure in theaters across the country. A classic in contemporary cinema. This compelling drama is rich in character and profoundly moving. It is a film with a message for us all. Gremlins are back, so get to a theater near you before they do.
I love the bites in the film.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh man, but
now, that's
this
the way
is a
you
great
re-release
scene.
a movie.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, now would be a good time with all the AI stuff going on now. That would be hilarious to see them like just gremlining all the AI people are doing.
Well, did you see that thing a couple of years back? I wish Warner Brothers would have used it for the Blu-ray version. Somebody did a Blu-ray or digital version of the break in part 2. Because, you know, in the theatrical version, the film actually breaks like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the gremlins doing the shadow puppets. And then you have all the people coming out
Abraham
of the theater.
Lincoln, right?
Yeah. And you have all the people coming out of the theater. And then that parent that's bitching at the theater owner, that's something that actually happened to Joe Dante at one of the test screenings. I guess there was a pissed off mother because she come out of the test screening. She didn't realize the people she was griping to were the people that made the movie. She's like, I can't believe that these people made this horrible movie. I can't find my daughter. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, I can't finish watching this. I was trying to make her leave and she won't leave. Now she's hiding in there underneath the seat somewhere. And she wanted, because the girl wanted to finish watching the movie and her mom didn't want to finish watching it. So like he took that experience and put it into the movie when the mom comes out bitching at him. But then in the video version, they changed all that because they took out the Hulk Hogan bit and all that kind of stuff. And they put in the John Wayne video bit where it looks like the videotape is getting ate up. So this one guy went and did a version for digital cable and put the gremlins in in the Batmobile, and it's really cool. Like, I wish Warner Brothers would actually use it. Let me see if I can find it when we'll watch it when we're done here. But yeah, because I know we're getting close to the end.
Oh yeah, imagine they put it so every AI generated image people do is just a gremlin.
Martin, if you want to pull up the commercial that I first posted, the Snickers one's funny, but I prefer the one with Zach and Gizmo from Mountain Dew.
On it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I love this whole third act. I got to tell you, man. I thought it was edited very well.
It's just pure madness. It's fun. It's so
Hi-ho! Hi-ho!
God, that song is so annoying. Of course,
I've always hated it since I was a kid.
Annoying as fun. Yeah, right.
We had a version of it when we were kids called Hi-ho, and Zoe used to sing this. Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to school I go, where teachers look like Frankenstein and mothers smell of turpentine. Hi-ho, hi-ho, hi-ho. And she used to sing that all the time. She thought it was hilarious.
She's your kid.
A really creepy version of that song is the Tom Waits one.
Oh, this is the Super Bowl ad, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Mountain Dew ad.
You tell me when to stop.
Oh, just let it go. Let it go.
Oh, crap.
It's all free.
Oh, I guess the internet's going to tell you to stop.
It's the Gremlins.
Yeah, it's Gremlins, man.
I never noticed until now that they gave Gizmo a little bit more white hair underneath his left eye.
He's got more cheeks too. He's got
I think they're trying to make him look a little older. I think was the point, but like,
you think?
I think so. They're giving him a little gray hairs there.
If anybody else can run it,
Yeah, do you want me to try?
yes, please.
Well, while we were waiting to get that up, I have that alternate DVD.
I'm on a Mexican. Whoa, internet.
Oh God.
Tom's got something here. What is this?
You want the first
I don't know if we'll
one?
be able to watch the whole thing because it's like really long. But like, somebody did this as like an alternate for the newer, like for a new version of it since it's not on video anymore. But I wish Warner Brothers would actually use this because it's actually pretty fun. So like,
things that man is not meant to splice.
Christopher
Here's
Lee.
a problem, 10. Sir, please try and
Robert
calm
Picardo.
down. We don't intend to renew the lease. Just tell us where you saw the things.
Don't patronize me, young man. They're real. I saw them.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on? This is so cool. Exorcist.
It's a new version. If they for like the digital version, basically. Yeah. And they were even smart and even put all Warner Brother movies in too, for the most part. So,
Oh my God.
This is actually Batman Returns, but whatever.
Now YouTube's gonna explain the shit out of this.
I don't know, maybe. Sorry. You can cut it
No,
out.
no, I don't worry about it. I love this shit.
They did a good job with this, though. This is old.
Yeah, they
right?
did. Oh shit, they're gonna fuck with the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We'll do like one more, and then it goes on for a little while.
Raiders, oh shit.
This is pretty funny, actually.
Oh my God.
Okay, one more.
Oh, Goonies.
Yeah. I'm at your Lighthouse Lounge, and I want to report a murder.
Wait a minute. Just hold on here. Hey, you again, Lawrence?
Sheriff, look, this time I'm telling you the truth.
Just like that last prank about all those little creatures that multiply when there's no water on them.
God almighty. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it just keeps
dude.
going. There's more of it too, but like I wish
Oh
they would
my
have just
God.
used this for the movie, man. It would have been amazing if you could watch it with that version too. I'll share it in the chat. I think I'm a wrench.
Yeah, share it out. Gremlins. Why did it have to be Gremlins?
Want to try some of my Mountain Dew Zero Sugar? Try. It is tasty. Just as good as the original, but without any sugar. Be careful.
He's not careful.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
Okay, Dad, Mom wants.
Oh man, this is so much fun watching this shit.
Oh God! I
And
just
it's
thought
so fucking weird.
if they ever do a new one, the Gremlins take over a streaming service, so it's just every movie but starring the Gremlins.
Well, that's kind of what that thing was that I just had up. It works for pretty much, you know. You could put that on the digital version. You could put it on the Blu-ray. Put it on whatever. Yeah. Although the Hulk Hogan
I'm trying to
scene is pretty
find it
funny.
right now because I'm trying to remember what year the Gremlins movie premiered on TV for the first time.
87, like I said.
Was it 87?
Yep.
Because I remember it was in the 80s.
Time. Yep.
And I remember that warning.
It was early 87. I want to say February. I remember it pretty vividly. So it was just before I moved.
I watched it with my son, and
yeah,
I just was like, "Oh my god, I love this movie."
Because they didn't cut all that much out, but they added in the Judge Reinhold scene. Because I think,
they added the warnings too.
Yeah, and I think it showed for 2.5 hours on its first time out, but I can't remember. Or it was like something else that was showed that night because it showed at a special time. That's what it was. There was some special event just before it. Because the other TV versions later on, they trim it down and time compress it to 90 minutes. Because the original film runs an hour and 45, and then you add in the Judge Reinhold scene, and it bumps it back up to like hour and 50 minutes close to it. But then some subsequent TV versions cut out the Santa Claus scene. Like for like the cable ones they would show during the day, but those are in the time compressed ones, so like they chop a bunch of shit out of them. But the original initial TV viewing, I swear there was some special event that was on earlier in the night because they started it at a weird time. Because I remember that. I specifically remember because I had it on tape for years. Because I had both the TV version and the HBO version, which was just basically the theatrical version.
It's odd to cut the Santa Claus scene because, as you said, that's like the core of the movie.
It was just in certain ones because I remember in the initial, like, because like Gary and I were saying, is like in the initial original showing of it on TV, it was chock full of all of the warning. This has got
and
adult
the
content
scenes.
and da. Yeah. There was only the one scene with Judge Reinhold was really the only one they added, and I'm trying to remember what else they cut out. They cut out some of the part in the kitchen when he's blowing up in the microwave. I remember that. Because I think they even cut out the sound effect. But I don't think they cut out anything else really from my memory.
Because the violence, in my opinion, from the film itself was very TV friendly.
Well, the thing is, and here's the thing, and this is why it probably got through the ratings the first time is, and this is still kind of even to this day, the ratings board looks at human violence,
violence against humans, yes,
and creature violence in much different ways. Like you could sit there and kill tons and tons of zombies or aliens or monsters or creatures until you're blue in the face and still get a PG or PG-13 rating. It all just kind of depends on how graphic in nature it is, especially when you throw in like green blood or something like that, which they really amp up in part 2 if you notice, and they still ended up with a PG-13 for part 2, which, and actually I'll say part 2 is kind of tamer than the first film as far as the violence goes
by
far.
Yeah.
I mean, and all the violence in the second film is more humorous, right? It's more cartoony, and there's
a scary element to this film.
This was very on the edge. Like there was a lot of debate on: is this a comedy? Is this a horror film? What is this? See, because that was the thing at this time. The tone of this movie was so different than any other horror, or like the closest thing that had a similar tone to this was probably American Werewolf in London. It's probably the next closest thing you had to this at that time, where it kind of had leaned into this scary, but it's kind of funny at the same time element to it.
Horror comedy.
Yeah, horror comedy, because to me with it, the key thing with it is that the monsters are kind of humorous, but they pose a genuine threat.
Absolutely. By the way, I wanted to point out the two films that boxed it out at the box office was Ghostbusters and Gremlins. But Gremlins, despite being as good as it is and how well it did domestically as well as globally, Ghostbusters kicked Gremlins' ass in the theater.
Not by a ton, but it did, yeah.
It's like basically domestically, I'm looking it up right now. Box office for this film was $148,168,459. Ghostbusters, what was the total? 229.
Yeah.
229 million. So they were, because like the first week,
two of the biggest films of the year in a huge year. Yeah.
The film opened big, but what shocked everybody was the second week of this film doubled what they made the first week. Word of mouth got around, and people started going to see this movie the second week.
Well, and that's where I think you had the inverse, or whatever you want to call it, of the ET effect. Because initially you had a bunch of people go to the opening weekend expecting something like ET, found out it wasn't. Word of mouth got out on that, and then I think the horror crowd started to adopt this film when they figured out what it was.
I think you're right.
Because,
I think you're right.
Especially when they found out how much of an homage it was to the 50s and, you know, such horror films and stuff like that. And it really just, and you know, the re-release I think helped. And then home video also was a big deal. And then it also got adopted as a Christmas film, which made it more evergreen than it ever could have been.
Home video gave films that even didn't do well theatrically a second life. Blade Runner, for example, made more than its budget. It made a fortune for Warner Brothers.
Well,
Blade Runner was one of the biggest home releases in the history of VHS.
Well, in this year alone, 84 is when I talk about where I'll get into a debate with people about this, between this and 82 being the biggest or best years for movies and cinema.
You and I've argued about this.
I know, yeah, we've discussed it. And I mean, you could argue that maybe 82 has some of the better films, I could say, but a lot of those films didn't generate the type of box office and buzz and the sequels that we still watch to this day. A majority of them come from 84, right? Like, I mean, people forget that Beverly Hills Cop was the biggest film of 84. Like that's at the top. And then you go down, I think it's after, well, it depends on how you go about it. Cause like domestically, I believe it's Beverly Hills Cop, but worldwide it's Indiana Jones. And then domestically second is Indiana Jones, and then Ghostbusters, I believe. And then Gremlins comes in at like 6th place behind. I'm trying to remember what else came out. Because there was so many fucking movies that came out in 84 between. God, what else was there? There was another big movie in 84 I'm missing here.
1984.
No, not
Indiana
besides
Jones.
that. No,
Indiana
that was
Jones.
number 1 or 2. Like I said, depending if you're going by worldwide or domestically. Because for some reason in my head, Gremlins is number 6. So there's a movie I'm missing in the top 5. The highest grossing films of 84. Maybe it was like Amadeus or something like that. Because there was other. Because Karate Kid did well, but it didn't do that well. The sequel actually did better than the first film.
Let's see.
We had Revenge of the Nerds, but that didn't do
Let
that
me
kind
go
of box
through it for
office.
you. You got Dune,
Police Academy.
Gremlins, 16 Candles.
Well, let me just look up the top 10.
Terminator. Terminator.
That didn't do better, though. That did better on video.
Ghostbusters, Amadeus, Paris, Texas.
Amadeus, that was one of the other ones I was thinking of.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
That one did
let's
okay.
see. Bachelor Party. I like that film. Temple of Doom. Let's see.
Okay,
Police
now this
Academy.
says Ghostbusters there
Footloose.
must be counting a re-release because now they pushed Ghostbusters up to number 1. This is according to Box Office Mojo now.
Okay.
Ghostbusters is number 1 with a worldwide gross of 220. Indiana Jones comes in at number 2 with 179. Gremlins at number 3 with 148. Karate Kid at number 4 with 90. Police Academy. So I did mention Police Academy. This is wrong. They got Beverly Hills Cop way down here at number 7. It's much higher. That must just be what it made in 84. They're not doing this right because that
The home box office release. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
You
domestically alone, Beverly Hills Cop did $234 million.
Well, I don't know
that's
if
just
you
in
and
the
I've
year
ever talked about this, Tom, but I think that it's criminal that the studios don't include the revenue made from home release.
Yeah, this
home
is a
rental.
weird one here. Let me see if I can find a better
I think
list.
they're doing something that's hanky because they say Men in Black has never made
Okay,
money. And
here's
that's
a
a
more
lie.
here's a more accurate list.
Okay.
Beverly, and I think this is domestically. Beverly Hills Cop, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Gremlins is number 4. Karate Kid, so you were right. Police Academy, so I was right about that one. Footloose, and I was going to say Footloose might be up there. Romancing the Stone, Star Trek 3, and Splash round out the top 10.
Yeah, here on IMDb, it's completely
That's
different.
just the
I don't
top
know.
10.
I think these are voted on here.
Yeah,
on
no, this
IMDb.
is from So this is taking the actuals from Box Office Mojo, because the way Box Office Mojo had it listed compared to the actuals is different. They went by year instead of the actual final
Last
number.
Starfighter is down at number 33.
Yeah, it's because that movie didn't do that well at the box office, but that's
I love that
movie.
movie. I love that movie, dude. Let's see. 84 was a good year. I think that 84 and 82 were, because you and I talked about this when we did that video.
82, 84, and 89 are like the three key years.
They kicked asses for movies those years. I think 87 should be included in there too. We got some really good films those years. Now, this was something that was an afterthought. Not just the Barbie car scene, but the electric chainsaw was done last minute because it was something that Zach actually said to Joe Dante. He says, would it be cool if we had a fight between a chainsaw and a baseball bat? And they planned it out that day and did the whole thing. And I just thought that was fucking awesome. Joe Dante likes improv ideas. Come up with a good idea, he will go with it if it's a good idea. And of course, the big shot. Oh, that's the giant one right there for the close-up. That's one with the 1 foot wide head. But this ending is the one that Zach, he remembered how they shot it. Was he did this big Bruce Willis jump while Stripe was shooting at him, and comes up and grabs the blind string and pulls it and opens the window. And but then when he saw it in the movie theater, it's like, nope. Gizmo saves the day. This is his movie. It's not about you. Oh, this is awesome. He's like, I'm going to get in water and make more. I'm going to make an army. What's this? Griffin says, having been alive in 84, I can attest 1984 was a fantastic year for movies. It's not just the titles, but how the year was pretty much a year-long party. I won't argue with that. It was a good year. We're going to eventually do this film. Tom, I don't know if you're interested in this one, but I love The Last Starfighter.
It's a classic. It's kind of a John Carpenter adjacent film, so yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, while somewhat campy, The Last Starfighter was a good movie in its own right. If you wanted a series, that world was. And by the way, the main alien in that film, that was the co-pilot, is actually also the head of Omnicorps for RoboCop. Same actor.
The old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice shooting. Son, what's your name?
Behave yourselves. I always love that from part 2.
Yeah.
The old man's not going to be number 1 forever. And I'm number 2 around here.
Sure thing, Dick. I love the way they play with his name. And you know what's funny is the actor, I forget his name, great actor that
Ronnie.
Ronnie, yeah, Ronnie.
Cox.
He did not like the way Red Foreman, what's his name, said his name. He couldn't stand the way he said his name. Dick. That's right, Dick.
Well, and Ronnie fought for that role. Anyway, I think we talked about that when we talked about RoboCop.
Yeah. I just love that whole movie. Everything worked out perfectly.
Oh, there's the guy from Howling right there on the TV.
Yep, yeah. The reporter. Yep. And this is the scene where they announce at the end of it, quietly in the background, if you turn it up, you can hear the interview coming with the Futtermans, how they fought off a bunch of these green
Gremlins.
Creatures. And it was a Gizmo. Yeah, see, I bought one in well, it wasn't the first thing I ever bought, but when this movie came out, I fell in love with Gizmo. I'm like, fuck yeah, I love this little guy. Oh, and in the making of documentary, Howie Mandel talks about doing the voice, does the voice on camera, and says, if they want to make another one, I'm ready. Because he can still do those weird voices.
He needs the money. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually pretty rich.
He's got Bobby's World money.
Oh yeah, Bobby's World money, man. More like America, because America's Got Talent money or whatever that show was he was on. Plus, he's got his own show and shit. I'm sure he's doing just.
You know, one of the reasons I always liked him was because I found out he had the same thing I have, germophobia.
Oh, I used to love his stand-up, and everybody used to make fun of his stand-up.
Oh my God. When he did that one back in the 80s, I think it was his first major stand-up show he did, and he asked that lady if she's ever farted, and she goes, no. He gets what goes running away from him. He goes, everybody back up, she's gonna blow.
Oh, he was just insane. Like, I'm curious how much cocaine he was on back then.
He had to have been.
Quite
that guy was
watch
more wired than
the
Robin
first
Williams.
few minutes of Hooray for Hollywood, and you'll be like, holy shit. He's like, if Robin Williams walked in right now, Robin Williams would be like, hey, back off on the coke, buddy.
You're gonna die. You're gonna be like John Belushi if you're not careful.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, because he's just like on 11 the whole fucking time, just like.
I love that he says bye to Biddy. You know, he's like talking to him, says something that he understands, and he opens the box up. He says,
"Here, one has only to listen."
He is so annoyed that he showed Gizmo how to watch TV.
Yeah,
he's a Chinese rabbi.
Teach him to watch television.
Hiya.
He's a Chinese rabbi.
Television again. An invention for fools. Rambo.
Oh, I did that in nursing school. It cracked everybody up in the class. I'm like going, this is Howie Mandel. I stole a joke from him just, to fuck around in class.
Well, why do you think he came? How do you think he came up with that joke?
Working on St. Elsewhere.
Well, he always had fucking rubber gloves around.
Germophobia, yeah.
Yeah.
Dreamscape was a great film, but it did not age well.
No, people just didn't get Howie's humor at first. Howie's humor was he is a bad comedian, right? Like that was the joke. If you go and watch it, like he's just a bad comedian. Like that's kind of the gimmick. And then you're just sitting there waiting for Bobby's World, basically.
Yep.
Then you do a Bobby's World bit and that'd bring down the whole show, and that was it. His best one is in Hollywood anyway.
Yeah, I think my favorite Bobby joke was in that first special he did.
Well, the first one's pretty good. That's it's my potty, and I'll do what I want to.
That's the one I'm talking about. She says, like, Bobby, why do you keep crying every time I put you on the potty? And she goes, oh, it's my potty, and I'll cry if I want to.
I love the one. Hollywood's pretty good because he's scared of the dark. And he's like, I don't want to go to bed, Mommy. I don't want to go. Why? Because I'm scared of the dark. Well, what if I sing you a song? No, Mommy, no. Why not? Because I'm scared of your singing. Well, I'm going to sing to you anyway, in the dark. I said, Mommy, please don't sing to me.
Oh, the smokeless ashtray gag right here. Man at gas station tried to sell me. He got excited for a second. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, that's why. It's a great holiday film. I really do like this.
You get this awesome matte painting for the end.
And the Gremlins singing.
That fucking theme song from Jerry Gold. This is, he's done so many great ones.
I fucking love the energy of that
the
song.
The Gremlin Rag is so good. Besides Jaws and Star Wars, it's probably one of the earliest themes I really remember clicking with for a movie. Or Superman.
Yeah.
Probably depending on when I see him. Because I probably didn't see Star Wars till, I guess I went to see Return of the Jedi in the theater, but I don't remember it. And the only memory I have is it must have fucked with my brain because I must have fallen asleep halfway through the Vader fight. Because in my brain for the years until I saw it on video, in 86 or whatever it was when it came out, Vader at the end, Luke just knocks his helmet off with the mask in my brain for years. That was the way it was. All that other stuff that happens in between never happened. And when I saw it for the first time on video, I'm like, what the fuck is all this? I must have fell asleep. I must have.
I had
My parents are like, nothing is different, Tommy. It's all the same. Like,
I had a weirder experience with Star Wars because I watched Return of the Jedi first, then Empire Strike Back, and then finally the original Star Wars.
that's kind of the order I remember them too, even though I'm sure I watched them in another order. But again, I don't think I saw Star Wars the first time until till my cousins taped it for me off of HBO. Because for those guys, you guys don't remember, like back then, HBO had movies on that were not on video yet. Like for some people, like their first copy of Heavy Metal was recorded off of HBO. Because Heavy Metal didn't come on home video until what, like 90?
Oh my God, I forgot about doing that.
2, 3, 4 or something like that. It was in the 90s because they couldn't get all the music rights figured out, but they had the rights all together for HBO. So most people would pass around bootlegs of the movie off of HBO. Same thing with the Star Wars films until they were finally released on VHS.
Did you do the one where you could record 3? Because you had 3 speeds you could make record movies on VHS, and
I didn't know until later in life, but yeah.
Because I would always do it on the 3 movies per tape, and of course the quality was never
that's the way we were
good.
raised, right? Like until I realized later on, but like my mom, that was the whole thing, is because you got to be economy then,
Yeah, you can do long speed, and it will record just one movie on one VHS, and great. It was as good as you're watching it on HBO. But yeah, man, we used to record those all the freaking time so we could watch it whenever we wanted to. That was some good stuff, man.
Especially in the early part of HBO, since video wasn't even a thing yet. Like there was a lot of movies, right? And a lot of people, like I said, like it's kind of cool that they had them on there. But like I remember the first time I saw Heavy Metal was on Cinemax, actually, because it wasn't even on video yet. Couldn't find it on video.
Crazy. And I don't know how you could do that, War Mikey, because it was constantly being re-released in the theater during the 70s and 80s. I remember they would they'd bring Star Wars.
Like every other year they released the Star Wars movies, because they released Star Wars 77 and 78, and then 79 they didn't, but they released, but I think it got it released on what did they do in 79? I don't think they did anything, but they got the trailer for Empire Strikes Back. So did they do another re-release of Star Wars in 79? You guys out there might remember.
Because I remember
80 they didn't, because Empire. Yeah.
When Empire was being shot, they released it, and this time they changed the opening scroll. And
that was on the re-releases, one of them, like the 82 or the 80 release, one of them.
I think it was the 79 when I saw it that it became
could have been New Hope.
I could have sworn that before the release of Empire, he needed to change it before Empire came out.
Well, anyway, I was just gonna say, because Star Wars was released no less than like 5 or 6, re-released no less than like 5 or 6 times. Empire was re-released at least 4, and I think Return of the Jedi was the only one that got like only 1 re-release, if I remember right.
Yeah, it didn't do as well as the others, and
plus video also by that
one
point
of the heavily
was the
criticized. Of the
big video was also the thing, because I remember a movie came out in 83, it played all throughout 83. 84 went dormant. They had all the TV stuff in 84 with the Ewoks and the cartoons and all that shit. 85 they re-released Return of the Jedi. 86 Return of the Jedi and Empire, or Return of the Jedi finally hit home video, because it was 84 when Empire hit home video and 82 when Star Wars hit home video. So that's the other thing you guys got to remember, is so like it was years sometimes before some of these movies would come out. E.T. didn't come out on home video till 1988.
Man, those movies really lucked out with all the format changes. Think about it. You have the theatrical run, you have theatrical releases, then you get the VHS market, then DVD.
Well, it's because Spielberg refused to release it until I can't remember how many millions of VHS he wanted sold in the U.S. Players in the U.S. sold. That was his whole thing.
Yep. By the way, it absolutely confused us. Those of us who went to see it in the theaters in 77.
Where's the other 3 fucking movies?
Like, we got really confused by the number and the new name. And on top of that, it had a different intro. The Lucasfilm was done differently. And it really threw me off. And also, that was when John Williams went in and changed the opening 20th Century Fox. He rescored 20th Century Fox fanfare And it wasn't just the brum, 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 and then it went into the movie. Instead, he wrote a longer fanfare. A lot of people don't know that that's John Williams. He also scored the Lad Company logo theme. And so 20th Century Fox logo was changed for the opening of Star Wars on its re-release in 79. And the opening was different. And it really freaked us out. I remember seeing it going, we didn't know what the Mandela effect was, but we were feeling it. We're like, did they change it?
Well,
I don't remember it being that.
And depending on which version of Star Wars you saw, there were different slight variation. And we're talking very slight variations. Like there's, of course, the most famous being the C-3PO line that was only in the mono version until the re-release, where he actually explains how if somebody shuts down one of the force field power sources, that it'll shut the whole thing down or whatever. Like in the original version, there is no C-3PO narration. That was missing from all the other versions, and they finally got it in the final cut, which was, believe it or not, the mono cut. And then when they did the re-release, they finally got it back in there in all the different various versions. But like, yeah, so that's just one of the small variations.
I remember this other weird thing, Tom, with Star Wars 2, because I'd read the book. That Alan Dean Foster later got credit for writing, the novelization of Star Wars. But I got it conflated in my head that the opening said a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And in the book, it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a great adventure took place. And still in my mind, I swear to God, it said that when I saw it in theater, even though I know it didn't. But it's in my head that way because of the book. Because that's how the opening of the book is. It has that line, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a great adventure.
I have that somewhere. I don't remember what the hell I did with it.
Yeah, it was really kind of shitty of George Lucas to not let Alan Dean Foster have his name on that book. So... But anyway, guys, we're wrapped here. That's the end of the show.
Yeah, no, Gremlins is great. It's one of my favorites of all time, and I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it, man. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Deleted Scenes for snoring for a little bit. Are you awake yet, Deleted? Or are you still asleep? I think he's still having his grandpa sleep.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I guess I dozed off there. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you were snoring, and we're like, who the fuck is snoring? You pulled the
Matlock.
I had an early day. I had to go in at work, so I kind of I lost the guys there for a minute. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it, buddy. It's good to have you here, man.
It was funny.
Shinatsky?
It made the chat laugh.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good. You had a lot of
Shinatsky, appreciate you being here, buddy. Martin, as usual, thank you for being the left side of my brain. Anima, as always, I love you. Thank you for being here. And Tom, great show today. I had so much fun just listening to you talk sometimes. I'll just shut up and just listen to you.
Tom went off today. I love when he does that.
So much stuff. And he's like in the private chat, man, you guys got to stop me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I could have kept going.
Penny, thank you for being here. Cavatino, Cavalryman Che, thanks for being here, brother. Space Fwaggle, you Fwaggles. Slasher Fred, Tom Baker, Emmanuel, Krampus Jeebus, Lord Thoth, Connie Cleary, Griffin, Disney Sheepherder, Soul Assassin, Vinkman's Girl, Caveat Ties, War Monkey, and Michael Guzman. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you all being here.
Also, thanks to Mephisto for the raid and for joining us.
Oh, Meth, thanks for popping in too, buddy. We appreciate it. I always love seeing him.
Always great.
He always has some fun, something to say. You know, I love that about that guy. He's got an opinion on everything.
He derails you.
Well, he and I were just getting derailed because we were just getting to know each other. And after that, after 2 shows, we were good. We were good after 2 shows.
Did you get derailed in the back door?
Shut up.
Fuck you, Schnatsky.
Yeah. Fuck you, Schnatsky. You're not funny. But hey, I do want to thank everybody for watching the show because this is how we feel.
You love me. You really love me.
I love that thing.
I love you too.
That's a good one. That's a
Lynn,
good
the
one.
like button.
You do that,
like
guys.
a gremlin.
Do it.
Oh, and I do need to play this video. Here we go. Hey guys, don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and notification button. We appreciate you watching the show. Now, back to it. Yeah, back to it. So we're going to get the hell out of here and have a good Saturday. So everybody, thanks for popping in and hanging out with us. It's always fun. Tom, I got to tell you, I enjoy our regular Saturday shows, but when you come on with the trivia, dude, holy crap, I enjoy these shows so much more. I feel like I'm learning something when I hang out with you.
I try.
I know.
Tom.
But thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure. Maybe we could try to squeeze in Gremlins 2. I don't know. I don't want to do it before Meth does it. I should save it for later. Because we already got some good stuff planned out for Christmas. I want to do some Christmas-themed movies, especially in the last 2 weeks of the month. So we're definitely going to watch the 1984 Christmas Carol, because it's my favorite one with George C. Scott. Did you like that one, Tom?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I really do like it. David, what's his name? David that played his Clark. I can't remember his fucking name. He was in Star Trek. God, he was in The Omen. The guy was over David something, English actor.
Warner.
Thank you, David Warner. Absolutely my favorite version of that character in that film. Cratchit.
We have that one
Bob
set up
Cratchit.
for the 25th. So if you guys want to join us.
Yeah, we'll be doing that one on Christmas Day. And it'll be us watching. Maybe we just do it on Rumble and invite people over. Do the first half of the show here and then switch over to Rumble so we can do a watch along and watch the movie with everybody.
Watch party for Christmas.
See if we can do that. Martin, we'll work on it. We'll plan on it, right? We'll think about it. We'll consider it. Thanks,
Maybe.
Martin.
No pressure.
No pressure. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a great Saturday and please have a good weekend.
Bye, guys.
This episode is brought to you by Schnuffsy's Natural Odor. You too can have it. I'm going to contact him privately and offer him money, and he'll send you this thing.
Y'all come back now, you hear?